Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And I, as well as my guests, are tonight's entertainment. I hope everybody's having a lovely evening. What is today? Wednesday? Wednesday evening, whatever the fuck day it is. Adrian, I do see in the chat, bro. Yes, God bless Donald J. Trump. I totally cannot disagree with you on that. However, I gotta introduce the guests for tonight. We're gonna be chilling out, having a chill stream with somebody that I believe has very much different views from I and us here on Project VO Pod. So we definitely want to introduce our guest for tonight, Mr. Socrates. How you doing, man?
Great. Really excited to be here. As you can see, it's hot as hell where I am right now, so I apologize, sweating profusely.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good, dude. It's good to see you. By the way, so just to kind of for some clarification for everybody, I did meet Socrates for the first time on Admiral Gibbs' panel, right?
hmm
What was the subject again that we were talking about? I forgot.
It
Was it
was
the
on
Epstein files?
like DNC funding, which is kind of a broader topic of like, is the Democratic establishment doing the right thing in general for America, for their constituents, all of that
Right.
stuff.
That's what it was. That's what it was, man. Now I remember, dude. Yeah, dude, fucking but yeah, I'm glad to have hit you up there, man. You seem like a little bit more of an intelligent liberal. Cuz okay, you've seen the videos online of like these liberals screaming at the top of their lungs saying, they wish the bullet hit Donald Trump and they dye their hair blue. What
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, I'm thinking back to like 2015 or something. The kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like
well they
cringe
still exist
feminist blue hair, whatever
hardcore.
compilations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, dude. So I wanted to ask you, man, have you been a liberal for most of your political kind of spectrum here? Or were you
yeah, I
ever
mean,
like more of a
all my
conservative?
life, raised liberal in a very liberal area. Consider myself, I guess, more of like a leftist versus a liberal. These things are kind of thrown around and like used interchangeably.
Yeah.
Um, but there's definitely a sentiment that I want to put out there
Mhm.
that it's such an accepted axis of like more or less liberal. And the more that you're like screaming at people, the more that you're tweeting a lot, the more
Yeah.
that you're, I don't know, talking about how the USSR was the best thing ever. Like the more lefty you are or something. And I just think that's a really silly way to think about the world. That it's like the more unhinged, the more left you are.
Right.
I don't think that's a reasonable way to look at the world.
Yeah, no, I got you. I got you. Now, I did find out on that panel, which I wasn't really thinking of it at first, but you are Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So your family is very liberal oriented, right?
hmm
Very liberal, very and you aren't religiously Jewish, you're just ethnically Jewish, right?
No, so I
Or you're a
mean,
little bit.
this is interesting. I think I don't know if it was you or somebody else.
Mhm.
Maybe like Gibbs asked me. It's like, oh, are you religious Jewish? And I'm like, oh, not really. Maybe, I don't know. And somebody was like, oh, maybe. Like, what do you mean maybe? Like, why is that? Well, how could that be a complicated question?
No,
Um,
I got you.
and that this is something that I've actually kind of gone back and forth in my life. And as I've gotten older, I've kind of appreciated more the values that I learned from my Jewish upbringing. That I mean,
Okay.
so I was bar mitzvahed. I read from the Torah in Hebrew. I led the Torah service.
Mhm.
I haven't done that in a while. I would have need to brush up. Um,
Have you been to Israel?
I have, yeah. I went on
Really?
birthrights.
Okay,
So
right on, right on.
for them, I was Jewish enough to be Jewish. But it's kind of an interesting thing in Judaism. Have you ever heard this
Mhm.
phrase? God died in the camps, or God died in Auschwitz.
I don't think so.
So that's like one aspect of Judaism, that there's like a lot of people who, like the result of going through the Holocaust, people who survived or people who had family who were murdered in the Holocaust, are kind of
Mhm.
like this. I don't, I can't really reconcile this with like a universe with a kind of active God and where his chosen people is looking after us. So there's like, and that connects to something a lot older in Judaism, which is like a very logical, studious application of thought. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
heard the word midrash. It basically means interpretation of the Torah. So you have like the Holy
Okay.
Scripture, and then you have interpretation, almost like this is maybe the basis of some like Western legal frameworks, where you have kind of
Mhm.
like precedent that's set from logical thought, saying this the Torah says this thing and it says this thing, and you combine them,
Right.
through some inference, and you get this other thing, and it builds
Isn't
and
there a lot
builds.
of like debates with the rabbis on interpretation of the Torahs, right? You guys
Absolutely.
still to
Yeah,
this day
there's this
debating
phrase
hardcore on
like
this?
two Jews, through opinions. We like
Yeah,
to argue.
yeah.
I mean, you've seen Ben Shapiro. I think he's
Oh
a
yeah.
horrible horrible human being. But
Ben
you see
Shapiro?
like maybe with the maturity of like a 6 year old, but the kind of likes to argue. That's common
Yeah.
among Jews.
No,
So.
I get you there. Really quick question, bro. This one comes from hold on, is it showing? There it is. Being a liberal, who's your favorite musical artist? That's for you, bro.
Oh, okay. So I really really love music.
Okay.
I in high school I was in like a jazz ensemble. I'm not
Okay.
good. you know, I
You're
play a
not
little bit,
good.
a little bit guitar, a little bit of bass. I really never practiced like I was supposed to. So
Okay.
asking me like who's my favorite musical artist, it's really tough. I saw Symphony X.
Oh,
Um,
dude. Okay, so you are a metalhead then.
yeah,
Yeah, I fucking love Symphony X. Yeah. Dream Theater.
I
That's
saw
right up my
Dream
alley, dude.
Theater
You did?
live. Yep,
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm a
I
big
saw
metalhead.
Opeth live.
Opeth. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. A Jewish metal guy right here. Cool, man. I think you're the first that I've met, anyways. But yeah, for me personally, dude, I was like I was big. You ever heard of Children of Bodom? That's one of
Oh
my
yeah, of
favorite
course.
like
Yeah.
metal bands.
Hmm.
Alexi Leo, he passed away a few years ago because he's
Hmm.
he's a fucking drunk. But I saw that guy 3 times before he passed away, man,
Oh
and
yeah.
that dude looked like he was sick. Like the
Hmm.
last time I saw him, it was like he was very skinny. And then 2 years later, he kicked the bucket, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean that's just the world of rock and roll, you know,
Yeah.
of heavy metal and whatnot. Angry Snowman has another question for you,
Yeah.
bro. What's your thoughts on Rabbi Shmuley?
Shmuley Boteach.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's the guy who's always on like on shows, just
Remember
like
he had that
screaming his
video,
head off,
bro?
and
Yeah, he had
um,
that video where he was dressed. Oh man, guys, I wish I could find it for you. Smoo is that how you spell his name? Smooly? I don't
Shmuley
think it is.
Boteach.
Okay,
Yeah.
Smooly. Yeah, he had a video of him dressed like a stereotypical Jew with his big old nose
Oh,
and money, and he had blood. Do you
so
remember?
weird. No,
So
I don't remember
crazy, bro.
that. I haven't followed him, but
No.
everything I've seen, he's just I don't know. It seems like a like not a great guy, and also just not very stable.
No, he's
Um,
not. He's not, dude. He's absolutely insane in my opinion, dude. And he's a real big you know, Israel type of first
hmm
dude
Yeah.
here. Like, let me
Same
ask you
with
this because I wanted,
Alan Dershowitz, also
yeah,
like not a good guy.
yeah, Alan, yeah, that's another. You have a lot of these guys, especially they're popping up. I've noticed that kind of with like because I wanted to ask you this as
Hmm.
well
Hmm.
with kind of like the rise of Nick Fuentes.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you know who he is. With the rise of him, he recently came out on Candace Owens and whatnot. He's
Mm.
feuded with Rabbi Shmuley and even Candace Owens herself, to be honest.
Hmm.
I wanted to get your thoughts. What do you think of Nick and his messaging? Do you think he's hateful? Do you think he might have some points? What's your thoughts on Nick Fuentes?
Sure. I mean, he's like a Holocaust denier, and he's like a famous anti-Semite. I mean, the fact that him, Candace Owens, Shmuley Boteach, these are all kind of like, evil clowns from an evil carnival, and the fact that they beef with each other is just because they have huge egos, and and you could dissect what their kind of ideological differences are, and there are differences in how they see the world. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm interested in that. I don't ever look at somebody and with just this kind of reductive, oh, they're evil. I don't have to know anything about them. I'm not interested. I can evaluate people as, okay, I don't think this is a good person, but I'm
Right.
perfectly interested in knowing, why do they think about the world this way?
Sure, sure. One thing, like with Fuentes, I know he gets called like an anti-Semite,
Hmm.
and he gets called all these types of things, man. Uh, my personal opinion when it comes to Fuentes, man, I think there's a reason why his rise in popularity has skyrocketed in recent, especially since I would say, especially after the October 7th attack, was a big one because when Israel, did I'm sorry, when Hamas did attack, Israel, they had, I think, the numbers were around what, like 1,200 people that died from that attack,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
1,200 people. And the next 2 years under Biden, Israel had the numbers vary from around 60,000 deaths all the way to 100,000 that they
Hmm.
attacked the Gaza Strip.
Yep.
Now they use this type of excuse of like this is self defense, but where does self defense kind of draw the line when you have 1,200 people and 60 to 100,000 as well as 20,000 children dead from Israel over there in the Gaza Strip? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that, as an excuse, has only ever been, you know, more or less challenging to
Hmm.
directly factually refute. There's people who are, very strong ideological supporters of Israeli
Sure.
Zionism and kind of, I mean, this was I've been following this for a long time, as growing up Jewish,
Right.
most people are kind of propagandized to some degree, about Israel, and Israel has meant different things to different people in different times, but looking at the statements out of the government officials, I mean,
Hmm.
everything from we should nuke Gaza to Nakba 2, Nakba referring to 1947, 1948, when a lot of Palestinians were, violently and forcibly expelled out of Palestine, saying we want to do that again, like just very, very directly. Everybody from the yeah, Netanyahu to
Yeah.
Smotrich to Ben Gvir, top,
So he,
first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth,
right.
seventh, eighth, ninth, tenth people in the government all saying this, and then
Yeah.
more and more statements out of soldiers on the ground saying, you know, I really don't like drawing a direct comparison, saying, oh, the way that the Nazis were, that's the way the
No.
IDF is behaving. But there are
I,
there
I,
are
I'm,
Israeli
I'm,
soldiers on the ground, IDF soldiers saying, I feel like a Nazi. They're saying this from their own first person.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Like I wouldn't draw that comparison with like the
Hmm.
Nazis and the Israeli Defense Force. Like I think that's just kind of wild to me.
I think it's reductive
Um,
for sure.
yeah, but I would say like even if you look at I think it was Pew Research that if you go through the studies, even the people of Israel, uh, like if you, I think they asked studies about because I think it's 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel, that they would be 100% okay with taking them out of Israel, out of the homeland, and deporting them somewhere else, right?
Hmm.
I have noticed that even the people of Israel are a lot more, what's the word? They're more ethnically proud, right? They want the land kind of like for themselves. As far as the Gaza Strip, it seems like, and this is what most people are kind of looking at it, and I think this is my opinion as well, is that I think they do want an ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip.
Hmm.
I think the people want that. I think definitely Netanyahu wants that. Netanyahu is also on trial for war crimes
Yep.
that not necessarily he can't really get prosecuted for those because of the wars. I think this is a big reason why he started the war over there in Iran, was to kind of keep the wars coming so that he doesn't have to either face trials or face any type of political elections to get out of office, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So,
this is someone who was running, as we see some parallels, him and Trump or BFFs. Netanyahu is somebody who's running for prime minister partly to stay out of jail because he had all these just internal within in the country, all these like corruption charges, all these like financial scandals, things that were like, oh, looks like you may have committed a lot of financial crimes to
mhm.
make yourself a lot of money, and okay, maybe you have immunity. He was dismantling the Supreme Court, so there's so much within his own country that he was doing wrong, and trying to dismantle the democracy within Israel. In addition to everything, obviously, that he's doing to Gaza and to the West Bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like circling back to Nick Fuentes, I think, well, because the thing is, Nick has been talking about this for nearly a decade with the stuff with Israel. He's been talking about this stuff for a long time. I think Nick was probably the first one to really bring a lot of attention to the Israel the United States relationship, right? So now, like 8 years later, when October 7th happened, I think it's gotten traction towards a lot more mainstream. And I feel like you get a lot more people talking about this subject, but Nick technically has been talking about this for nearly a decade prior before, you know?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of people who've been working very hard to draw attention to this, and there could have been things that he said that are correct as kind of a like a broken clock because he, you know, I have no idea in his heart if he like hates Jews or whatever. He's kind of an
Yeah.
edgy guy who likes
He
to
is an
get
edgy guy.
popularity by saying edgy stuff, but he's saying stuff like, "Oh, if I had this many ovens, could I really bake 6 million cookies?" He's very flagrantly playing around with anti-Semitic Holocaust denial. Again, I don't know if that's like something he's using to gain popularity, if he really has like a true hatred of Jews in his heart. I'm not sure. Somebody who resorts to that or somebody who obsesses over that, there probably is some fire with that level of smoke. In the same way that like Kanye West, it's like, okay, clearly he has some like mental illness issues, but he's very fixated on going DEF CON, whatever DEF
I
CON
remember
10
I remember that
um,
tweet. Yeah,
on
DeathCon
on Jews, which
something.
is
Yeah.
a little bit, it's a little bit funny because it's DEF CON is already bad. You don't have to change it to DEF CON, and DEF CON 1 is actually worse than DEF CON 10. 10 is actually low danger, but
Yeah.
not a perfectly rational tweet.
No, yeah, I would say the Kanye West situation was pretty wild when it was coming out. Like one thing with Nick, like I respect the guy. I agree with a lot of the stuff he says. Right, not
Mm.
everything, of course, but I don't think Nick is as controversial as some may think. I don't think he
Mm.
really is. I think he's stated a lot of the stuff like the lobbyist groups of Israel, a lot of the politicians, not only just the left, but right wing politicians, are very much in kind of like the pocket of a lot of these
Oh,
Israel
sure. I mean,
lobbyists, right?
it's especially they. So you're talking about like APAC
Yeah,
in particular
yeah,
has a
impact
huge amount of money, huge amount of influence, and
within
um,
our government. Yeah,
yeah, and they've donated to Democratic and Republican candidates. They're looking for whatever you know. I don't know how they haven't officially been um, like there's some legal process that needs to take place because you're not supposed to have a lobby that's just representing basically the interests of a foreign government. It seems pretty straightforward that that's what they're
yeah,
what they're
yeah,
doing.
well, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Like APAC, you would agree, it very much kind of prioritizes Israel's benefits over there, here in the United States. You would agree that APAC's
hmm
kind of one of those lobbyists, right?
yeah,
And I think, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like going back here is that Nick has been talking about this for nearly a decade. Now, all of a sudden, you had Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens kind of break through that type of mold, um, and now they're kind of ostracizing Nick at this point. Like I think Tucker called him like a gay kid living in his mom's basement or some shit like that. So you do see them fighting within each other, but simultaneously, like I think I can still appreciate like right wingers coming out and actually wanting to have this conversation. Yes, you have people like Charlie Kirk, who's a shill for Israel. And then you have a few people on the left, right? Cenk Uygur recently started kind of jumping onto this gate,
mm.
especially after the October 7th stuff too. But my question to you, especially because since you are Jewish, um, I just need to ask you, man, like you and your family, how do you kind of feel about, you know, I guess the Israeli land and Benjamin Netanyahu? How do you feel what the future should be or how America should handle Israel at this point? Like, do you support defunding Israel and dethroning Netanyahu? What's your solution here, especially you as a Jewish guy?
Sure. I mean, just to say for people who don't know, it's
Hmm.
been really Jews as some of the front runners of critiquing Israel. So Jewish Voices for Peace, If Not Now. These are Jewish led organizations that are working really, really hard to, number one, say, as Jews, we repudiate what this elected leader of this nation are doing. Netanyahu is clearly a war criminal. I don't know anybody who doesn't feel that, who I'm
Oh
close
yeah.
to at this point. Um, and um, sorry, I'm getting flustered. What was my number 2 point? Can
Yeah,
can you
like
ask that
you're
as the question again?
yeah,
Yeah,
like
I want
I
I
wanted
want,
to
I want to
ask
go
you.
through every piece of that. Yeah.
Yeah, your family, especially
Hmm.
like you're especially your Jewish community, your family. How do they kind of going about that? Are they in support of Israel? Taking out the Gaza Strip, 60,000 to 100,000 people, murdered by the IDF. What like how do we go about that, man? Like what's their take on everything? The Jewish community over there.
Yeah, I mean, so within my circles, within my family, we're
Hmm.
against ethno states, we're against genocide, we're against ethnic cleansing, we're against
You're
um,
against ethno states then. So
mhm.
when yeah, so then
Certainly,
would
or
you
certainly in terms of anything that we can have, like this is kind of, I don't know if you've heard of this kind of like Chomsky doctrine
no, you
that
can.
uh, obviously there's a lot of things that he's talked about, but he's talked about if you're going to speak on things in the world and speak on things with
Mhm.
any kind of any kind of notion that what you're saying about how a nation should behave is
Sure.
related to your own personal kind of position in the world, it makes sense to speak out first of all based on your nation. Israel is not my nation, but they are a nation that claims to speak for Jews and claims to represent Jews. And so I feel that it's my responsibility, and many other Jews feel that it's our responsibility to speak out and to contradict that and say, no, you do not represent our view of the world. What you're doing is a perversion
Hmm.
of the Jewish religion, which is about equality and justice and peace and coexistence and these kinds of things that have existed in the Middle East in different ways, in different periods, in Palestine, in Persia. There were different places where Jews, Muslims, Christians all peacefully coexisted, and that's the kind of like model of what our religion is supposed to be in the world. And to say, oh no, the Jewish religion is a wall of protection, both a
Hmm.
physical wall and a rocket,
Right.
rocket
Right.
protection around us, and everything just outside of that is getting blown to smithereens. This is the most horrible counter to our religion and a worldview that you could possibly have. So
Okay.
everybody I know is totally against this.
That's
Yeah,
surprising. That is surprising. Again, from what I've seen online, especially a lot of the mainstream Jewish influencers do claim that this is defense. They do want the Gaza Strip, or at least they say they don't, but it seems like that would be the case of how like Shmooty, even Ben Shapiro. A lot of these guys,
sure. I mean, he's
they
a
tend to be
huge. Uh,
yeah, they're Israel first. Let's be
mhm.
honest here. That's why, like, when I ask you, like, would you consider yourself America first or America over Israel, or are they equal to you in your eyes,
No, I
or is
mean, so
Israel?
okay, so there's a few things. So the main thing you're gonna see is not
Mhm.
not going to be based on whether somebody is Jewish or Christian
Mhm.
or atheist or whatever. I'm an atheist Jew, but what combinations of those? It's going to be based on basically political leanings. So Ben Shapiro is conservative first, and so that's where Israel aligns with where he's at. Somebody who's far out there and a kind of like personality like Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens, or they're going to be choosing a lot of like maybe weird, different, contradictory fights.
Mhm.
But when you look at the bulk of people, you're going to see, so within the Jewish community, more conservative Jews, politically leaning within the American system, are going to be supporting Israel, and more progressive Jews are going to be critical of Israel. That's basically how you're going to see the breakdown. Um, there's a part two to where, okay, and am I more like Israel first, America
Yeah.
first? So I'm American. I was born in
Yeah.
America. I live in America. To the degree that I see myself as like identified with one nation, it would be America, right? At the
Okay.
same time, part of my both like Jewish and leftist principles is that I've had I've had arguments with people a lot on Twitch where I'm like, hey, I don't like it if some kid in a different nation is killed or starves or something. And I've had people say to me like, why would you care? They're not in your country. How could you care about what happens to somebody who's a member of a different nation? And to me, that's insane. That's like sociopathic.
Yeah,
um,
but you would
yeah.
agree that like our nation would come first. Like we need to take care of each other before we can take care of others around the world, right? At least with that statement.
Sure. So I
Because that's
I
that's the way I think of it,
yeah.
really. You know, and I get it. There's some people that you shouldn't care or whatever, and to a degree, it's like, well, yes, we should care, but at the same time, we should care about what's happening here in the United States first and get our problems solved here, like with the border, all these other things, and then once we help ourselves, we can help out the rest of the world to a degree. That's how I kind of think
So
about it.
I see the world. I mean, this is fundamentally, I think, a pretty common difference in more kind of conservative versus progressive mindsets. I think this is almost, you could almost boil it down to basically this. There's a lot of different things you could boil it down to,
Mm-hmm.
but this is probably a pretty common one. Of For me, fundamentally, I see the way that we build ourselves out of like the problems that we have in the world, just the the myriad of very very big issues that that our nation and every nation and kind of the world, humanity as a whole faces, is through like peaceful, effective, mutual cooperation. And there's another mindset that says kind of like we're we're going to need to get onto a life raft. There's only going to be so much room. Obviously, if we can get some other people on the life raft, that's great. But
Right.
it's got to be us and our family, and the kind of like nation as a family in that metaphor. It's got to we got to worry about that, and then we'll see if there's room for somebody else. Versus,
Yeah.
in my perspective, it's like, okay, how are we going to lay some planks between two different life rafts to provide a lot more space, and then some counterweight so it doesn't capsize, and right, and then like build like a farm on that mega life
Sure.
raft. That's my kind of perspective on the world, very broadly.
Well, I think there's a lot of common ground there, though, Socrates. I think there's a lot of common ground because I'm not saying, well, we have one lifeboat, and then everybody else is fucked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
save ourselves, and then we can start focusing on the ones
Mm-hmm.
that aren't a part of our nation next, right? I think there's some common ground there. So I think we have a little bit more in common than you think when it comes to that particular topic there.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes back to even kind of like the MAGA America First type of mentality here. Now, I'm not saying Donald Trump, as much as I love the guy, I have to admit, I mean, Donald Trump is a bit of a Zionist. He is like he is very much in support of Israel. I've seen his tweets where he talks about Netanyahu in a way to where he is facing these kind of war crimes, and he describes it as, well, it's a political witch hunt against Netanyahu. That is just a ridiculous statement, in my opinion. But this is what we see with Trump. However, it's not unique just to him. You see
Mm-hmm.
this with Republicans and Democrats
Yeah.
all across the board. So that's why it's just kind of like for me personally, I think when it comes to uh, the Jewish state or Israel in general, I don't like that we give them $4 billion, right? It's 40 billion or some shit, like 400 billion per year, some crazy number
It's
like
not
this.
400 billion. It's
It's 4 billion. It's 4 billion.
yeah.
It's 4 billion. My
Yeah.
bad. 4 billion. I had it right the
Mhm.
first time, but four
But
billion
it's
dollars.
it's that plus like supplemental,
Yes.
whether it's donating or selling or whatever,
Yep.
thousand pound bombs. Yeah, I'm very much against that, and that's one thing where you will see um, in progressive circles versus more kind of democratic establishment the criticism of Joe Biden as being very supportive of Netanyahu and those bombings. There was some pushback, there were some limits on how much armaments were being transferred to the IDF that Trump removed those caps on. It's not night and day, that difference, but you saw some small differences there. But overall, I mean, progressives are horrified. This nickname Genocide Joe that comes from progressives. Um, for me, I didn't necessarily think that was helpful because I knew that Trump was going to be more supportive of Netanyahu than Biden was, and not push back at all. But it's not an unfair, criticism of Joe Biden that he was supporting this
Yeah,
genocide, ethnic cleansing.
yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. And again, for 2 years, Biden didn't get anything done with the Hamas situation. Netanyahu didn't have to start a war with Iran because the Gaza situation was at an all-time high, right? 100,000 people dead with Biden funding that situation with our taxpayer money. I think that was another big reason, I think, too, of why the Democrats lost this past election. But going
I
back to
think
Trump.
I think unfortunately it wasn't such a big thing. It like at scale in the election, I think probably more mundane domestic economy. That obviously
Sure.
that stuff is
No,
really
no, no.
important. It's
I,
saddening. What I mean is it's saddening to see how little impact that kind of humanitarian um, loss of life probably played
yeah,
in a lot of people's minds. Yeah.
I think for the right, because remember, I was streaming, I was an advocate for Trump. One of my big gripes with Biden was him funding the Ukraine war and the war over there in Gaza, or Israel. And this was a talking point from many people on the right, is that we didn't like our taxpayer money going to those proxy wars. And it was billions upon billions. There was more. I think it was like 20 billion to Israel and another like 150 or 200 billion to the Ukraine stuff within that 4 year span. So it was a lot of money that was going towards those proxy wars that a lot of people on the right did not like. We hated that shit. So as far as right wingers go, another reason we wanted Biden out was because of that funding for those proxy wars. I don't know how prominent it was on the left. When I would debate lefties, they seemed to not really give a shit about those fundings. A lot of them didn't. They didn't mind funding Ukraine, but at the same time, they had an issue
Yeah.
funding the Israel Gaza war. It didn't really make sense
So
to
there's
me.
different kind of values that are cutting across in different ways. So the kind of like isolationist America first is going to say, well, we shouldn't be funding whatever in some kind of foreign war. We should focus on domestic things. So it's gonna look at those kind of similar, be a lot more sympathetic toward funding um, Israel, because the 8 years plus of rhetoric from the Bush era of we have to fight them over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Anti-terrorism. We've
Oh yeah, that was one big. That was
something
one
horrible.
big
If we
fucking.
aren't involved in a war in the Middle East, that's the end. Like that's the most important thing that we have to do
Yeah.
as a nation, is we just have to be involved in a war in the Middle East. We just have to do it. Like
Right.
for decades. I mean, and before that, Bush Senior with the Gulf Wars. I mean, so all of that, I think, primed a kind of generation of conservatives to be at least somewhat sympathetic. Obviously, the America First in some ways cuts counter to that, but there's still
Yeah.
some kind of like, what I would call Islamophobic, kind of like, this is a huge threat. Like if Israel doesn't get its way in Gaza, somehow ISIS is gonna come here. Some kind of connection of like this is gonna impact me in the middle of like Idaho. Somehow this is gonna be an impact for me. Versus when it comes to Ukraine, there's a lot of like partisan political messaging that had an impact in kind of the opposite direction there, because there was the
Mhm.
Russiagate scandal that was negative for Trump, and so anything so it kind of there's kind of this interesting flip where I was seeing a lot of conservatives saying like, oh, liberals are huge like Russophobes. You just like are obsessed with hating Russia. And like for me it's a little bit maddening, because we had the Red
Yeah.
Scare in America where
Yeah.
like liberals are like, okay, Ukraine got invaded by Russia. They're a sovereign nation. They should have a right to their own nation. Like it's from like a moral standpoint, it's really like straightforward. It's easy to understand at that level. Um, so that's like liberals were like, we should support Ukraine repelling an unprovoked attack. That's like a moral thing that we should do. And then you have like decades and decades of Red Scare where like if you're a teacher in a public school and you've like read the Communist Manifesto, like you're going to lose your job, maybe be blacklisted, never be able to work again, have to leave the country. I have somebody in my family who was
Mhm.
blacklisted from the country because of the Red Scare, basically had to leave the country. That like
Yeah.
impacted my family in terms of people who are available or not available, like as as parents within my pretty recent ancestry. And so to hear right wingers say like, oh, you just have this like Russophobia, to me it's really crazy making to hear that, when the fact is, it's like Ukraine is a nation. They have a right to exist. They were invaded by a nation that just wants to like be expansionist and control them, or for whatever reason it's not okay, and we're like, we should help them. It gets complicated, and whereas like this is where you're saying like allegiance to America versus kind of like world values or whatever. If I were like a hawkish, like if I were a neocon, I would
Right.
fucking love the war in Ukraine, because
Sure.
we mail Ukraine a bullet and they put it into a Russian soldier.
Yeah.
We
No.
mail them a
There.
we mail them a
No.
an anti-tank shell, and they put it
Yeah.
into a Russian tank for us.
Yeah.
Like,
But all that
cost
argumentation.
effectiveness, it's
All.
the best thing. But as a lefty, I'm like, well, I don't want American hegemony. I don't want war. So it's
Right.
right. So I have these kind of internal contradictions when it comes to something like this. I don't have
Okay.
like a clean approach to this. And of course, I mean, I don't like funding for war, period, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
a,
No. I get you. I get you.
anti military industrial complex guy. So it's not a simple thing. And I think a lot of progressives, even if they signal one way, internally these conflicts exist.
Yeah, yeah, and it kind of feels contradiction because like everything you stated there when it came to the Ukraine, you can essentially apply it to even the Gaza-Israel situation as well. Like Israel's our ally. Supposedly, they're our greatest ally ever, right? This is what I've been told. Israel's our greatest ally. So them even putting a bullet into Hamas or any of these, terrorist organizations can help us
Well,
out in a way.
there's a big
I,
difference
I,
in that.
I
Like, oh, sorry, I'll
no,
let
no,
you
no.
finish, and then I want to get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess from my perspective here is that if you're funding one war in the Ukraine, right?
Hmm.
Because we need Russia's our worst ally, whatever, however they kind of state it.
Hmm.
I don't think Russia's as prominent in this situation. It's a long going conflict between Ukraine and Russia that has been happening. I don't think Ukraine needed 200 billion or 150 billion worth of our taxpayer money when we should have actually got involved as far as negotiation to negotiate through peace, right? How has that worked out lately? Not very much. But even the same thing with Israel. Israel taking out the Gaza Strip or wanting to do those situations, it would still benefit us for Israel to, I guess, somewhat take more control of the Middle East. That's another argument that I've said, right? That I've heard on why we should fund Israel on that. But what's your thoughts on that before we kind of move on with that?
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts are pretty straightforwardly. Again, this is like, if I put on my like hawkish neocon hat, and I'm literally just thinking like, if I'm American imperialism, what do I want to happen in world events? Hamas is not one of the top military contenders against the United States, right? So if you look at like
Well, they're
military
funded
strength,
by
sure,
they're
sure,
funded
sure,
by Iran.
but
So yeah, go on.
yeah, if you look at military strength, you have the United States, and then you have like whatever an order of magnitude down, something
Mhm.
like China, Russia. You have Iran like much further down there, but it's there. Something like Hezbollah, that's like a military wing of Iran, and then it's like Hamas in terms of like military capability. Like they don't have a single like plane. You know what I mean? They don't have a tank. They don't have a plane. They have a lot of rusty AKs and whatever stuff they can build. So
Right.
they're not like a military. They don't have like massive hacker groups that are obtaining
I
U.S. military secrets.
I understand
I
your
I can
argument
see
here.
what you're saying
You're
in terms
saying
of a link to
Hamas
some other
compared to
things.
Russia. Yes, I agree. Russia has the
Yeah,
bigger
they're
guns,
like number
100%.
3 or
But
something on the world stage in terms of like superpowers. Obviously,
sure.
maybe not as strong as they thought they were going into the
No,
Ukraine
no,
war.
yeah.
Uh,
No, I get you there. I get you there.
Yeah.
And well, one thing as far as Ukraine goes, I think the latest news that I read up on, I got to refresh on what the
Mhm.
latest information. I don't know if you know it, but the latest information from the last article that I read that Putin is now kind of contemplating a peace deal,
Mm.
but he's going to want a piece of the land in Ukraine.
Sure. That's yeah.
Do you think that would be a reasonable exchange to have people stop dying, especially over there in the Ukraine that they've lost nearly half, if not more, than their male population. So they're going to have a huge birth rate issue over there. They're going to have to bring in immigrants in order to kind of expand their nation again. What's your thoughts on that?
Sure. So when it comes to these questions of um, this kind of like I guess that the axis is like peace versus justice, and
Mhm.
peace now at like at whatever cost versus some more like stable, lasting peace. It seems that the kind of like it's not capitulation, it's appeasement, right? So this idea of appeasement, that we tried with Hitler, we tried with Putin before. It seems like the scale at which this is going into like kind of like Russian imperial history, the scale at which they're thinking of is in the order of like decades and centuries. And so if Ukraine says, and this is, Ukrainians know this, if we give you part of Ukraine, it's not going to be like, okay, cool, we're good, this is it. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be like, okay, we started a war, we got some land. Maybe we don't do anything for 10 years, maybe 20 years. And then maybe in 20 years, we roll out the tanks again, like they did in Belarus, like they did in Georgia, and they're just like, now we're going to take more. And so, from Ukraine's perspective, and I think that they, as the sovereign nation, have the right to say, like, what are we willing to give up for like just peace right now versus stability, safety down the long term, and justice, yes, is also important. I do think it's up to them, and I think it's very reasonable.
Sure.
If they were being super unreasonable and they were like, we're not going to do anything whatsoever to have peace, that then you can say, okay, you know,
Well,
we
because
got to get you
here's my
guys on board with like a more reasonable mindset.
right.
But I don't think it's unreasonable based on the way that Russia has behaved for the last 100 years,
Yeah,
pretty
but we'll say
continually.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, the thing with Ukraine, even with Ukraine, Zelensky hates Putin. He hates the Russian
well, I
nation,
mean,
and
he
vice
should,
versa,
right?
right? No, I get you there, but I'm just saying this. Look,
I mean,
we have
they're
we
it's not just like starting a war. They're going in and they're like
I
it's
no,
really really horrific war crimes that we
I
can't talk
totally
about
get you
really
there.
on any platform.
Yeah, I totally get you there. I totally get you there. However, when it comes to our taxpayer money and we're funding these proxy wars, the only real solution there is to get involved into the war directly, so we can take out Russia and take over the whole land. Because the people in Ukraine, they're not going to be able to fight off Russia forever to hold on to that land. It's just not going to happen unless we get involved, right? And
I don't think we should do that. And
I don't think we should do
yeah.
that either. I don't think we should do that. So
I really
realistically,
appreciated when that war broke out. One thing I really appreciated from Biden is he was like, "We're not putting boots on the ground. It's just
mhm.
not happening." You know,
Yeah, and
like
I'm glad he didn't do
right?
that. I was
I mean,
very
that
happy
was
he didn't do
like
that.
I was like, I didn't think it was gonna be some like World War III stuff. I had friends who were like, is this gonna be
The
something?
World War III
And I
shit
was
has been
like,
like Tim Pool has been talking about that shit
yeah,
for
yeah, but
fucking
I'm
years.
like, I'm really appreciative of an American president, and I felt like he was somebody that you could at least like somewhat rely on. That when he says that, he really means it. It's like we're not putting boots on the ground, no matter what happens.
Mhm.
Even as that could weaken, you might like to say, oh, we might do something. You bluster. No,
Right.
he's just like, no, it's not happening. No boots on the ground. We're not doing a Iraq war for
No, yeah,
for
yeah.
another Afghanistan
No, I
war for
get you.
another
I
20
get you.
years. I'm like,
I get you. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
there's no possible way that Ukraine, we can fund them for fucking 10 years, bro. The only thing that's happening is our taxpayer money going over there and our inflation going up. And we just don't want to do that. We have to sacrifice the American people in order for Ukraine to even have a shot. My point is defund that. Look, we need to get a deal done. If Russia, and because Ukraine doesn't have the cards, bro, they just don't have the cards. I'm sorry, but they don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's reasonable to say, okay, here's a part of the land, because you have to realize Russia and Ukraine are kind of similar to, like, there's a lot of relations there, right? They both speak the same language. It's like America and Canada,
I mean,
right? The
they
little
speak
brother.
related languages, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, but Ukrainians and Russians are very similar when it comes to ethnics, right? They're very similar types of people. I'm saying that it's kind of like Canada and America, right? I think a lot of if America invaded Canada tomorrow, I think we'd have a lot of the soldiers would have issues, kind of deleting these types of Canadians, etc. Right? I don't think even the people, I mean the soldiers of Russia want to go in there and wipe out society over there in Ukraine. Um, but I think that it'd be logical to say, hey, here's a piece of land, keep it civil, and Ukraine not join NATO, because that was another big thing that Putin didn't want. Is with Biden, Ukraine was flirting with joining NATO, and I don't blame Putin for saying I don't want that shit. I don't want missiles in my backyard that are
I
pointing to
mean,
me.
you can blame him, not blame him, and I think we should probably move on to other topics, because this isn't necessarily
I know we're
like
kind of venturing off into other topics here.
I think there's a lot of
Yeah,
like kind of shared values that we could talk about, but there's like a big piece of this, which is that Ukraine gave up their nukes to to not have Russia invade, and for America to say we've got your back if Russia
right.
does. And the precedent of we give up nukes and Russia invades is a very, very bad precedent to have when it comes to like not to invoke like really, really broad concepts, but like human survival. Like nuclear war is like one of the
Oh yeah,
it's in the
I
top five things that like could end us.
I don't think nuclear war is even like a thing, bro. I mean, who's the only one that's ever launched a nuke? It's the United States. The United
I
States
mean,
are
and
the
we
only
almost
ones who,
did again. Bay
and
of
yeah, but
Pigs. I mean,
nevertheless, I don't see Russia or even who else. There's even a few countries in the Middle East that have nukes, right?
mhm.
I think Israel has
Israel.
nukes. Yeah, Israel, North Korea, I believe, has nukes as well.
I think they don't, or if they do, they don't have like ICBMs that are really like
Yeah,
capable.
yeah, but
But yeah.
these are psychopath leaders, though. These
Hmm.
leaders are psychopaths themselves, and
Hmm.
I think they're not dumb enough to start a nuclear war because they know how
Oh,
detrimental that would be to their
they're
society,
yeah.
and they are psychopaths too. And I get it. You can look at the Joker who just wants to watch the world burn, but there's not too many Jokers out there that are in political positions like that. So I don't see Russia saying, okay, well, I'm going to start a nuclear war against America and Ukraine, etc. I think that's just bad strategy. But I do believe that Ukraine cannot win this war without boots on the ground from the United States, and I don't think that we should be doing that. So the logical thing to do is, hey, you know what? We're going to make a deal, and I think Putin wanted the eastern area of Ukraine. I think that's a reasonable position because they don't have the cards, and we need to negotiate peace for a long term situation here, and that would include Ukraine not joining NATO. I think this would be a something that can kind of steer down tension over there with Ukraine and Russia. Because I just don't see Ukraine winning without the United States getting involved, directly. So that's just that. We can end that conversation on
Yeah.
that with the Ukraine stuff, but okay. So let's move on to this because obviously, and people in the chat are they're loving the conversation,
Yeah.
bro. They're loving the
I mean,
conversation,
I can say
and
just to close on the top, not even stating
yeah,
like arguments or whatever, but just like the points of contention. If we really wanted, we could do like a shared research stream and try to solve this stuff. But the things that I have a different opinion on are, I do think that Ukraine could plausibly, at least, I'm not a military or whatever, but I think they could plausibly repel
Really?
Russia without American boots on the ground. I think that America should not be in the business of compelling Ukraine to give up their sovereignty effectively is how I would see it. If they give up land now, that means that Russia's going to invade later. They're a sovereign nation who has a right to their territory. I don't think that we should be in the business of compelling them. If we give them like ammunition and they can't repel Russia and they get invaded and we don't do boots on the ground, I think we could do a poll of Ukrainians if that's what they would prefer. But my understanding is that's where Ukrainian sentiment is at, where it's kind of like, kind of more of like a death or glory type thing, like give me
Yeah.
liberty or give me death, which is like, as
Oh, I think
as
there's
an
a lot of
American, I can
people.
respect that. Like,
No, there's a lot of people over there in the Ukraine that want, the soldiers that want to continue this situation
mhm,
because they don't want to give up any of their land. Totally understandable.
yeah.
If you want to go that direction, hey, I'm fine with that, but you're not going to get any more of the United States
Mhm.
money. If you
But
want to
huge,
die for
huge
that
agreement
nation,
that we should not,
go for
we
it.
should not continue to not have boots on the ground. Huge,
Yeah, I
huge
agree.
agreement there.
Okay.
And then the other point of contention is with respect to kind of like what it's costing us for this war. My understanding is that the primary thing that we've contributed are like old armaments that needed to be replaced and were earmarked to be replaced either. So we're either like donating old equipment or
Mhm.
we're like loaning things. That's not a huge cost to us, but I didn't, I would prefer to talk about other things. I didn't come prepared to like
No, it's all
present
good. It's
any
all good.
whatever.
It's all good. By the
Um,
way, this is supposed to be a chill stream, and obviously, like we're just having a conversation here. The chat. If
I'm
you guys
happy they
want
appreciate
blood,
it.
if you guys want blood, we'll do that another time, man.
Yeah.
All right. There's plenty of time for blood. With other, if it's an actual structured debate, we do want that. We like blood, especially when both opponents have prepped for each other, right? We're like Batman around here. We want to prep. We want a good
Exactly. If you're gonna
fight.
take down Superman, you
Yeah,
need some time to
exactly.
prepare. Yeah.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. But it's all good. Let's go with another. Actually, I don't know if I should do this now or later. You got time, right? You can go for like
Go
maybe
for it.
another hour.
By the way,
Okay.
dude, I've been loving the questions you've had. This has been fantastic. I'm really enjoying this. Thank you.
Good, man. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, dude. Because here's the thing. I've had a lot of people on the show where I have conversations with them. It ranges. I've had red pill guys
Mm.
on the show, and I'm having conversations with them. Now, of course, when I do my own show, I'm a lot more opinionated, and I use different types of language to express myself. But nevertheless, having conversations is kind of where it's at, especially when you want to kind of understand. And you're kind of a little bit more unique because I've never had a liberal Jewish guy
Mm.
come on here and have these. This is why I want to kind
And
of go into these
if you
subjects.
want to check out my channel, I can link it my YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, I have debates that I've done with like conservative Jews.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you link your channel in
Yeah.
the back, and I'm going to send it on to the chat here.
Yeah.
You guys should
yeah.
definitely follow Socrates. I did meet him on Gibbs' panel. Pretty cool guy. And
Over
hold
here
on,
in the
let me-
studio.
yeah, put it in the back chat over here. There it is. Let me copy that. There it is. All right, guys. I'm gonna send you guys the link to his channel so you guys can check it out. It's Socrates, the real Socrates. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Now you have it right there for you guys to check out. He does do debates, and I did meet him over there on Admiral Gibbs' panel. So it's a good convo. We should definitely have him back on. Invite Jake from Rattlesnake TV. Invite him. Well, I've had Jake from Rattlesnake TV on the show. Definitely had Jake. I've had Andrew. I've had Red Pill guys. I've spoken to a lot of people, man. It's always good to kind of have, especially people with different opinions. Obviously, Jake Rattlesnake and Andrew fall a little bit more in line with my worldviews on things. But it's always good to kind of have these types of conversations because I think even with some of these subjects that I'm asking Socrates, we have a lot of common ground in some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of where I want to kind of dissect a lot of the common ground So the next time I do debate him, I don't have to go through the common ground shit. I could just go straight for his neck,
Right into
right?
the
Go
kill.
straight to the neck without any common ground because I already know the common ground. So that's always good to have with conversations, especially if you're gonna debate the person in the future. So that's always good. Okay, so I want to go through this segment with you, man, because I did bring up Fuentes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Very opinionated on stuff, but I want you to kind of react to this video with me.
Okay.
I want you to tell me, hey, pause and give your opinions as we go on, because obviously Fuentes is a very hyperbolic individual. You know, he says things about Jewish individuals. I want to bring up this video here, and I want to get your reaction on it, man.
Okay.
Let's see here.
And give me 1 second to also just
Yeah.
grab that. Okay. Okay. Cool. I've got the video. Oops. Just setting up my stream so my people can see it. Okay. Looks good.
It looks good. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Fuentes, obviously speaking his opinion on some of the things. Now, it's quite a long video. It's not long. It's like 6 minutes. But I do want you to tell me, hey, pause. Give me your opinion, your natural reaction to what Fuentes has to say here. Okay. So we'll start whenever you're ready.
All right. I'm good.
All right. Let's go.
We know that the Syonim, the Israeli intelligence and their allies, their accomplices, those that are merely loyal to the cause of the Jewish nation, they, having fully penetrated our society, would try to hurt us. They would try to hurt Americans. They would try to hurt you and your family. Terrorist attacks, false flags, kill the president. I mean, they would do things like that. We know that. If Trump tried to hold Israel back, that'd be JFK situation.
I mean, so you could. So I don't know, like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to react to because I already know that this is just like what he believes. Like, I mean, this is.
Yeah, but I want to get your reaction on here. Like, okay, we'll move forward a little bit. Okay, he'll start cooking, and I just want to get your honest opinion about Nick here. You know, obviously you already have the opinion that he's an anti-Semite, which we'll go into terminology later on that, but just kind of listening.
If Trump tried to restrain Israel, there'd be another 9/11, and they would create it, and they would kill you without even thinking. They would say, "Rise and kill them first." That's Israel's motto. Do you know that? Israel's intelligence, their motto is rise and kill them first. Those that would kill us, we rise and kill them first before they have the chance. That's how they think. That's how the Jews and the Israelis, that is how they think. If America became an enemy or...
Right. I mean,
Okay.
So one of the main targets of like the Israeli state has been like any Jews that speak out against Israel. So that the conflation of like the IDF or Mossad or the state of Israel and Jews, some of the biggest people who protest Israel are Jews, either Jews in America or Jews in Israel. I have an Israeli friend that I talked to and I interviewed, and I said, hey, there's this kind of like sentiment that's gotten a little bit popular that Netanyahu pushes a lot. That's like, if you criticize Israel, that makes you anti-Semitic. Everybody has heard this sentiment.
Yeah, of course.
And he said, "Oh, like that's crazy. Like if you protest Israel, that makes you Israeli. We protest the government all the time." And so this idea that like protesting the state of Israel should be conflated with anti-Semitism, which is something that Netanyahu pushes.
Yeah, has pushed. Yeah.
I mean, that's something that is obviously not true, because if it's lots of Jews protesting Israel, they can't all be anti-Semites. And B,
you're
it's
a self-hating
really
Jew.
anti-Semitic
Then that's
thing.
what they'll call you. They'll call you a self-hating Jew if you.
Say,
if
you're
you
an
do that.
anti-Semite. Oh, are you Jewish? Okay, well then I guess you're a self-hating Jew. Okay,
exactly. It's fucking wild, bro. I wanted to say this. You had mentioned how there's a large portion of the Jewish community that do go against the Israeli state. Now, this is actually a statement that I've heard Nick say on another podcast as well. He stated this as well. Now, me personally, I don't know the numbers on that, so I don't know fully if Nick is telling the truth. But of course, you yourself is saying the exact same sentiment as Nick. It makes me actually believe it more than it is. But it's not something that I've actually researched on that. But I would believe you. I'm going to take you and Nick for the words of that. but he has stated that on podcasts before. So just FYI, I think Nick's aware of those things. And again, it goes back to when Nick is doing his show, he uses colorful language compared to if he's having a conversation with somebody,
Sure.
right?
I mean, this is very blatant propaganda. It's not beating around the bush.
It's not being around. Yeah.
These are ancient kind of blood libel. Jews are bloodthirsty vampires who would kill you and your kids. I mean, this is old school. Even like pre-Nazi anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Which is mixed with. I mean, so I don't know if he's brought this up specifically, but there's Mossad has done operations against Jewish student groups like in American universities that protest Israel and has
really
digitally infiltrated them. There's is this it? There's a documentary, The Lobby, which is about AIPAC, and then there's another one that's like looking at specifically like Israeli military operations against like American university groups. But the thing that they get wrong and get twisted and will always get twisted because of where he's coming from is that these are operations against leftist student groups. So the Israeli government currently is fundamentally a right-wing government. And so obviously they could have beef, with Trump if he suddenly turns to be super anti-Israel or anti-Netanyahu or anti-IDF. If he suddenly said, "Oh, we're going to do the ICC arrest warrant for Netanyahu," I don't think that would ever happen. He really likes Netanyahu. Netanyahu came to Congress or the Senate when Obama was president and talked shit about him. And, Trump has issues with Obama. Like, there's a lot of reasons that they won't have, like, any kind of real falling out. But if they did, Netanyahu would be shitty toward him, right? I mean, anyone who opposes him, he's going to try to do something. He's unlikely to try to like assassinate him. That seems like pretty far-fetched.
Well, yeah, Nick mentioned that in the very beginning of the clip here. I don't know if it's going to fall into that type of scenario,
right, but the real the actual targets that occur are they're leftist targets because this is a like fascistic or fascist leaning like right-wing government in Israel. So they're going to target leftist groups. They're not going to be targeting right-wing groups, which is who Nick is talking to, obviously, or alt-right.
Do you think Netanyahu would target right-wing Jews if they went against the Israel state?
I guess, but almost by definition.
Yeah, I wouldn't see why
that wouldn't happen. Like if that, you know what I mean? It's like the left-wing Jews are critical of Israel. Right-wing Jews support Israel. If right-wing Jews become critical of Israel, then Netanyahu would be opposed to them. Would he like go after them? I mean, that's like the rest of the people. If everybody were against him, he can't really target anybody, kind of individually. Which is why everybody should form a coalition saying, you shouldn't do this genocide. Things like that.
I agree. I agree with that.
It's the best reason for us to be talking, for us to come together.
Yeah. This is the issue that I have with Shapiro and even Rabbi Shmuley, that kind of support Dershowitz, etc. All these fucks that go out there and that kind of back up Netanyahu, etc. So I think there's some common ground there with that. I expect the left to actually go full throttle with this. I did not. So that was a surprise because, again, Fuentes has been talking about this for nearly a decade. And it was more on the fringe right that was kind of against Israel until recent. It went into the mainstream, right? And surprisingly, the left is very much aware of the genocide and the issues that the Israeli state has, right? So that at least there's some kind of common ground there that we can kind of get behind. However, the left are still some scumbags there, and I'll agree with you on this one, but maybe some other topics probably not, right? But nevertheless, at least we can unite on this shit. That's the point.
I mean, can I ask, is Nick Fuentes the first kind of person that you heard more of like this sentiment from, that there's like issues with Israel, or
yeah,
is that
actually,
kind of
to be honest, Nick was one of the first. This was years ago, bro. This was like when I was barely kind of getting into, well, not even barely, a few years after I got into politics. Fuentes was the guy that I heard. At first, I was just like, okay, well, maybe, but I didn't really care. It wasn't something that geopolitics wasn't really my first thing getting into. It was more interior politics here in the United States. But as time went on, I was like, okay, Fuentes, this and that. I started doing a little bit more research, and I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. And then Fuentes, of course, got banned on everything, so he kind of went out of my radar for a while, for a good while, until his massive comeback when Elon kind of brought back all of the people that got banned off of Twitter, right? So, and then October 7th just launched it into the mainstream to where I don't think people could ignore the war crimes that Israel's been doing for all these years. Now we're talking about this on a mainstream aspect, but Fuentes, from my knowledge, was really the first one. Like Alex Jones had a little bit of that, but Fuentes was really the first
of the
one
kind
to
of like alt-right people, or
the alt-right. Yeah, the alt-right.
Mhm.
Was there any alt-lefties that were kind of talking about this that also got banned? Anybody you can name that during that time that Fuentes was doing this as well?
Sure. So in terms of like getting banned off of social media, the people that I'm thinking of are people who've been writing about this for like 50 years.
Okay,
People,
well,
people like
as
Norman
far as an
Finkelstein,
influencer,
people like
yeah.
yeah.
But as far as
Um,
like the influencers, right? Because
in terms of
these are the modern
influencers,
day
sure.
people that, yeah, these are the modern day people that people kind of listen to, etc. Right? The podcast world has gotten so
Mhm.
huge. I think as far as that,
Probably
I think Nick
Hassan. He
was.
he didn't get banned for that. He got banned for like the America Deserved 9/11 thing, but he talks.
Do you like
talks
Hassan?
No, I mean he's kind of
He
adorable.
wants you
Obviously,
dead,
he's
bro.
very handsome.
Like Hassan
Um,
is very clear. From the shit that I've heard him say, he's very clear on the terrorism stuff. Like he will call for his own audience to kind of, he doesn't mind Jews getting deleted.
hmm.
Hassan's pretty radical, man.
I,
I
I
don't know
don't
if
I don't know
you
that I've heard that, but
know.
um, no, I'm not a
Like even Destiny has stated this stuff because I mean they beef with each other,
yeah.
right?
They've got
But
beef.
yeah, I
I've
consider Hassan
debated
to be.
Destiny about Israel.
Oh, have you? When was
Yeah,
this?
this was like last year or
Oh,
even
badass, bro.
longer.
I
It's
recently
on my
debated
YouTube.
Destiny. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. I recently debated Destiny in an IRL
Oh,
last Saturday. It was on the 2nd. So whenever
oh,
that was.
nice.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. So that was
in
fun. Yeah,
Florida or
Destiny
in New York or
in
something.
Houston. It was
In
in Houston,
Houston. Oh,
Texas.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I debated him again a few months ago in Michigan,
Hmm.
IRL. So yeah, Destiny's another character. Don't agree with everything that guy says, obviously. But yeah, nevertheless, when it comes to Hassan, I think Hassan's a lot more of an extremist. To the point where um not to the same degree as like Destiny or anything like that. But I think Hassan is like one of the big uh, communist, socialist pushers, and like I would consider that guy. I think that guy would hate Jews. Uh,
Hmm.
he's on a totally different level than your Nick Fuentes is.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's really really interesting to hear that. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's a
like
very
I'm
different.
just. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Fuentes right now is popular and he's on the rise.
Uh-huh. But I mean,
But Hassan's
yeah.
insane.
Oh, that's so interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, you ever heard him like spew about fucking? I've heard like he has hours of content talking strictly just on the Israeli Palestine stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, like
Oh,
he is
absolutely.
pro-Palestine.
No. I mean, it's a huge.
Yeah,
So my understanding, and I don't know enough about like his background to know what his more kind of like personal views are, but um his analysis of Israel Palestine, I think it's relatively simplistic. It's
Mhm.
not he's not somebody that so I can say as somebody who's on the left, whatever that means, that
right.
I'm kind of mixed about how I feel about Hassan overall. I think it's good that there's somebody who's like popular, who's generally talking about lefty things, but
Hmm.
I don't find a lot of his analysis kind of
Like good.
good enough to
Yeah,
to say like
bro.
so I'm kind of like generally ideologically aligned with him on some things, but I don't think that he's like
But how he goes about it and
a
how,
great
yeah,
um,
you would probably disagree with
um,
like his oughts. What we ought to do, you probably disagree. But as far as like the as far as like his analysis on what the problem might be, you might agree with that to a degree.
Sure.
But then his
Yeah.
oughts are kind of like, yeah, that's not ought we not ought do what Hassan is saying.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and we see that with a lot of content creators, and I totally understand that, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, anyways, let's move on with Nick here. That was a good segment there.
Yeah.
I think we're getting
Yeah.
somewhere here.
We can do a little
especially
bit
when-
more of this. I don't know how much like Nick Fuentes I want to look at.
Okay, all
No,
right,
like,
all right. I
we
know.
can do a little bit more.
All right, go for it.
Perceived as an enemy, they would rise and kill us first. And who's us? You and your family. They would rise and kill you first, just like the Palestinians, just like the Nazis. And this is something people need to get through their head. They are ruthless. And they will turn on you
sorry,
on
can
a
you pause
dime.
for a moment?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I was confused for a moment because I thought he was saying they would kill you the way they're killing Palestinians, but I think he was saying Palestinians would also kill you. That's what he...
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Israelis would kill you, Palestinians would kill you, Nazis would kill you, which is interesting because he's kind of like flirted a lot with like Nazism, and also Nazis were an R right wing. So
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah.
funny to me that I'm glad Nick mentions that because he gets called a Nazi all the time, right? Oh, Nick, you're a Nazi, right? But I'm glad he kind of shot that in there because he, with Nick, and I understand this with a lot of like people on the right, they'll tend to fucking kind of embrace the whole "you're calling me a Nazi, okay, fine, fucking."
I guess I'll make a bunch of Holocaust.
I guess I'm a fucking Nazi now, right? And the thing is, bro,
Totally
is that
normal
when you
behavior.
get called something so much, then you're just gonna embrace it just for shock value, you know, at this point.
I think
Because-
some people will, and background on me.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I grew up on like 4chan.
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
That's some Nazi
And-
shit right there.
And on like B too, you know, not just like, you know, whatever boards. So,
Yeah.
you know, you can't really like shock me with this stuff. I don't really get like, you know, I get an emotional reaction when people say stuff that's like very, very illogical. And it's like, it's going to take a really long time to break down how many incorrect statements you made in like one sentence. This is going to take me like 10 times as long to explain why this is
Information
wrong. That gets
overload.
me, yeah. That gets me
I
like
understand.
frustrated and emotional, but just like kind of like hateful stuff, whatever. I'm just like, oh, this is silly, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I would like browse, you know, just to see, like, I went on Stormfront just to see what that was. I'm like, these are the people who are coming after me. Like, I got to know what's going on. You know, I can
Right.
decipher some like, you know, different dog whistles and stuff. You know,
No, I get you.
888, you know, these different like kind of coded messages, 14 words, you know. So these are like sentiments that I'm familiar with, and I'm familiar with people saying this stuff just because it kind of gets a rise out of people, right? Like
Sure.
I understand that sentiment a lot. You know, I feel like I'm old when I say this, but back in my day, trolling used to mean something, you know?
Back in your day, how old are you, bro? Like 30?
Yeah, 34.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, you're 34. You're a millennial, bro. You're a millennial.
Internet terms, that's old, you know?
I guess so.
Growing
I
up on
guess
4chan.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
that's true.
as
I
a
get you
kid.
there, but nevertheless, it's like you're not like 40 or 50. You know,
Mhm.
like back in the day,
but it's like back in the day, it's like trolling meant like I know what I'm saying is stupid, and you
Right.
should know that I can't be serious because what I'm
Right.
laying it on so thick. This can't
Yeah.
possibly be for real. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of on you that you're buying into this. And at some point, I'm going to clue you in that I have been like
Trolling you.
satirizing somebody who would believe this stuff for real the whole time and let
Yeah.
you in on the joke. It's been a joke. With Nick
Yeah.
Fuentes, I've never seen anything ever to give me the indication that he's joking. I get some of these things he may not exactly believe when he's saying things about Jews or Israel or whatever,
Mhm.
but he's using it to gain influence. He's using it to gain power, and he definitely means some of this at least somewhat. You can't flirt with like Holocaust denial for like a decade. And
I
it's
think
like,
you're
oh,
right.
I actually, don't mean any of that whatsoever. There has to be some real feeling in
Sure,
there if
sure.
this is like your
I-
whole thing.
I think you're right to a degree. Like when Nick Fuentes says something like the Jewish lobbyists. And here's the thing, going back to his show, he'll make statements like this. When he's on a podcast and they give him direct questions, he doesn't answer the questions like this. He does not. He goes into detail. He goes into
That's
actual breakdowns.
Classic Nazi thing, hiding your power level.
Yeah, but Destiny does the same.
I'm not just trying to argue that he's a Nazi or whatever. That's not important to me to. Yeah.
But Destiny does similar things as well. Like when he's on Twitter or whatever, he'll tweet about how he wishes the bullet hit Donald Trump, or he'll tweet about how Corey Competore deserved the bullet, or kids in Texas drowning. It's because they couldn't masturbate to porn.
It's some edgy.
I mean, just some edgy shit, right?
Some bait.
Yeah, some bait. And I look at that and be like, yeah, he's just baiting you out, right? He's doing the same technique just we have online, and it is what it is. Is there to a degree some truth in there? I think so. I think I can agree with you to
some at least like emotional feeling like, no,
Sure.
I actually do really dislike these people. Like, okay, I don't actually wish anybody to like die or whatever, but like I actually do kind of like dislike yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of the game you play online, right? As a content creator, etc. And I get it to a degree, because I think being a provocateur gets more eyes on you, and when you actually get the direct questions and you're able to answer them in a coherent way, that's when you gain your followers to a bigger degree. And I think this is the game that a lot of influencers play, because let's be honest, bro, people like provocative shit. I think especially with the PC culture, saying you can't say that. It's kind of like the what do you call that? The Streisand effect.
Effect, yeah.
Yeah, the Streisand effect.
It's kind of a South Park effect too. Where they're kind of
South
like,
Park.
We're literally gonna go after whoever says that we shouldn't like say something.
Go after. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's our new target. Which I don't
And that's
100% agree with, but I can at least say like, okay, they are laughing at different sides. Yeah. Growing up as a big South Park fan.
Oh yeah, same with me, bro. I fucking loved South Park growing up, man. They were so on point, especially in the political world. As a kid, I didn't know what the fuck any of that was, but it was funny.
Have you seen the new stuff?
The Donald Trump shit? Yeah, the first episode, I didn't think was that funny, because it was like a lot of they made like 4 small dick jokes on Trump that I just kind of felt redundant. But the second episode was pretty good. It's like JD Vance is the little midget and he kicks him. Like,
I literally haven't watched them. I just saw like the short with
the
like
clips,
like Trump and Saddam, and I'm like, oh, that's a callback to like bigger.
That's a callback.
Cut.
Yeah, with Saddam and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Saddam and Satan.
Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, I'm fine making fun of Donald Trump. I'm just surprised they didn't go after Biden, because for me, the Biden administration, especially like with a lot of his statements that were kind of like incoherent, I thought that would have been low enough.
It's kind of low hanging fruit, because everybody makes fun of him. It's kind of like, it's like, what is that? What is that countering? It's like even people on the left, we weren't like, okay, clearly when you look at like compilations from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right. I mean, he does have a stutter. I grew up actually with a stutter, and so some of the gaffes, the misspeaks or whatever, is kind of unfair.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
See, this is where I deny the stutter situation, because if you look at his speeches when he was younger, there was no stutter there. I mean, he was very coherent. He was very well spoken when he was younger.
Yeah.
As he got older, there was a lot of stuttering. I don't think that had to do with his stutter. I think that had to do with like his mental decline.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At the time.
I think the stutter kind of exacerbated how often he would struggle to speak,
to articulate himself.
To articulate himself. But I mean, in that final debate, there was so much going on.
Oh, so bad.
That wasn't stutter. That was like mental decline.
Yeah, that was pretty bad, man. Yeah. It was pretty bad. And, they replaced him with, and it's funny, even before that debate, I remember making streams saying like, they're probably going to replace Biden. I think it was a year before. And I thought they were going to do it earlier. I literally predicted that they were going to do it the election year, in the beginning of the election year. But I thought that they were going to replace him with somebody like a Michelle Obama. Obviously, that didn't happen. I was wrong.
It's so interesting. I heard these things like, like as soon as he, maybe even before he like stepped down, but like after that debate, I was hearing like, oh, Michelle Obama or Oprah, and I was like, are these like, is this a joke? Am I being pranked? Like, are these the real suggestions that people are talking about? Or what's going on? Like these aren't politicians. These aren't people who. I mean, I guess that's the world we're living in now. You have like whoever, but I mean, even like Donald Trump as like initially non-politician, he was talking about running for president for decades before that.
Yeah. He I remember
He was
I think there's a clip
probably
from
putting stuff
88.
together for.
Yeah. There was
Yeah,
clips from
it wasn't spur of
88.
the moment, like.
Yeah. He had stated that he didn't want to be president. He was like, I just want a competent leader in there because we're getting ripped off by other countries. I mean, this is something he's been saying since the 80s.
Yeah.
And so once he got into office, especially his second term, he is going with a lot of the geopolitics, like heavily in his second term than he did his first. So a lot of the stuff he said back in the day is kind of coming to fruition in his second administration. And I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I think that there has been a lot of trade deals that we've gotten ripped off on. And I like the idea of us, especially we want to hold the superpower of the world. China is rapidly catching up to us. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that China becomes the world powerhouse in the next 20 years if we go into the other direction that we've been going prior before Trump.
I feel the exact opposite. I feel like
really
he's giving China a huge boost right now, and it's not about the tariffs. So my industry, I'm in biotech, I'm in cancer research.
Oh wow, you're a smart guy. Well, you're Jewish. I get it. You're smarter than me, bro. I'm Mexican. Well, I'm Hispanic, but yeah.
Right, and I feel like he's just ceded whatever kind of lead we had to China, like in a matter of like months. He's just said,
how so?
we're not doing cancer research, we're not doing biotech, we're not creating like new powerhouses here. We're not funding it. We're not going to have people learn how to do it. They can do it overseas, and then we can buy our cancer treatments from there, and they can be the centers. China is saying actually they're like, hey, U.S. scientists who are losing all your funding, you can come over here, and you can work for us on cancer research over here. It's there's a lot of things that I disagree with what Trump is doing, and there's a lot of things when it comes to like our kind of like our political system that I feel like are big issues. But when it comes to cancer research, I feel like that's one of the most horrific and disgusting things that he's doing.
I'm not so familiar with what's going on there, so I can't really speak on it.
I mean, I can provide just a couple things, which are massive cuts to the NIH, which is one of the biggest kind of sources of income for early stage cancer research. Every single drug company that we have in America that does cancer research, those drugs originate in public sector research funded by the NIH, funded by universities. Every single drug. And so you can say, this kind of like short-term gains thing where you say, we just want companies make profit, private sector, they're just doing, working on fruit flies, looking at, cells or whatever, screw those eggheads, we just want to make profit. Okay. You need to have some underlying technology there. If you cut out that investment in the actual development of those fundamental technologies, it would be like saying, we're not going to fund those people. These people are working on some kind of computer system. They have a computer in one place, talk to a computer in another place. I don't think that's ever going to be worthwhile. We wouldn't have the internet. Right? So there's so much that, you chase this short-term profit and you lose everything that went into making that possible. It's like, plowing and fertilizing the ground. It's like, we're just going to grow crops. We're not going to do all the stupid, crop rotations, fertilizing, irrigation. That's dumb, waste of time. I just want tomatoes. It's like, well, you need to make the ground fertile to grow those
in order
tomatoes.
To do that. Yeah, I get
exactly.
you there. I get you there. So your claim is that Trump has been moving a lot of the cancer research overseas, and we're just going to take their research and put it over here into the United States. Is that?
I mean, we're going to be buying their drugs
that they're developing and they're making money.
It seems kind of
it seems kind of counterintuitive, based off of, especially with Trump's businesses and etc. I have to look into that if that's the case. I have to look into that because it seems very
Massive cuts of public
counterintuitive
funding, even
to
even
his.
clinical trials. So drug
Mhm.
companies running clinical trials on drugs, current cancer patients are now not receiving cancer drugs because of canceled drug trials, because of funding removed. And I want people to understand that this isn't just like, this isn't like a tree falls on your house and now
Mhm.
you need to clear away that tree, build a new house. This is like nuclear matter, seeps into the groundwater of your property. It's
Mhm.
it's done. There's no rebuild. This is a generation of scientists lost in America. These are people who are not going into PhDs. These are people who are not starting labs. These are experiments that are killed that will never be rerun. This is an entire generation of research that we're just whatever, 20, 30 years
Mhm.
that we were, maybe we were 10 years, 20 years behind China just from this like months of actions that put us like 2 decades behind where we were.
Wait, hold on. Okay, 2 decades more is what you're saying,
No,
right?
no, we were ahead of anyway. We're
We
publishing
we were
more, we're
okay. So
developing more
we're
than anywhere else in the world.
right.
This alone,
You're telling me in the last 6 months, this alone has pushed us back 20 years behind China because of Trump's
20 years relative to where we were compared to China. We were maybe 10
compared
years
to.
ahead, say
So
something
are
like
we still
that.
ahead of China, or
I
maybe
don't I
we're
don't
equal?
know. In terms of like short term,
Uh huh.
we're doing a lot. But in
Okay.
terms of where we're gonna be in 10 years, 20 years,
Hmm.
um,
China will be ahead of us
it if
if we keep going this
yeah,
direction.
yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, okay.
And,
So
and and
because
it's
I
and
think,
it's not even if we keep going in this direction, if we
uh huh.
don't massively, massively correct this like pretty soon.
Uh
Because
huh.
because somebody who says, "Oh, I really, really want to research this awesome thing that could lead to the next big revolution in cancer research." Oh, my funding got cut, or oh, I'm seeing my peers' funding get cut. I'm not going to go down this path. I'm going to go into finance or something. You never get that person back. They're gone forever. They're never going to take less money from the money that they've been making to go back into a field that has been like slashed and burned and salted the ground.
Yeah.
They're never going to switch back into that. Those young
Okay.
researchers, they're never going into it. It's going to take and the destabilization. Like, what does it take, to trust again? I'm trying to think of like another industry where they kind of like cut it and maybe they try to refund it and get people back in. Like,
Right.
people are
To get
smart,
people
people are
back.
wary,
Yeah.
people are risk avoidant,
Yeah.
and to rebuild that trust, to even if the funding were restored, like if you get somebody who's a contractor on your house
Hmm.
and you just say like, you know what, I'm not going to pay you anymore for the work that you've done, and
Hmm.
then later on you're like, oh, you know what, I will pay you. I definitely will pay you. They're not going to take your job. That's it. It's over.
Well, they
Like
might
there's
take the
no,
pay, but they're not going to trust you in order to actually give them the
they
money in the
say, okay,
future,
I'll
right?
take
Is
the,
what
the
you're
back pay that you owe me, but
right.
I'm not working for you again. I've got other people that I can
Well, this
do
is the
some roofing
logical.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm
get you
not,
there.
not going to mess with this. Why would I take a risk on this? That's crazy.
Hmm. Okay, yeah, I gotta look into that, man, to see what exactly Trump is doing on that, on the as far as the cancer situation. I don't know about it, so I can't really
Yeah,
give you
and there,
any
and there's
real
people who
pushback on it.
can't. There's people who can't even talk about this. I was at a cancer
Mhm.
research, really big cancer research. Um,
Recently? Was this recent?
yeah, this was like earlier in the year.
Okay,
Traveled, presented a poster, a lot of fun, got a lot of free coffee.
nice.
Um, there were people at, they had like a relatively small, not super well attended, talking about like, what are we gonna like do about this situation? People in the industry are very much treating it as like, okay, this is just kind of like happening, we don't really, we do science. We're not public spokespeople. We're not political activists. Like, we don't have we don't have like an intuition toward talking about this stuff. We don't have some venue to go kind of tell people what's going on. But I talked to two people who are federal employees that say we aren't even allowed to like present our posters. The posters are hanging up. We can't stand by them and present and talk about them because we've been so gagged by the Trump administration around we can't even talk about the fact that our funding has been cut.
Really? So you're saying to me that these individuals can't even talk about this situation, or else they'll get into some type of trouble, or probably not arrested, but
not
maybe
arrested. It would be like
maybe fired or something along those natures of losing their job.
Yeah.
If they speak publicly about this.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to look into this scenario here. I don't see how Trump would be okay with this, especially how he does business. It seems very counterintuitive to how Trump runs usually, especially with companies, etc. So I got to look into that. With that, Palpatine's in the chat. Hold on. I think he's arguing with you, man. One of the chatters here. I don't know. But we'll move on from the subject here because I got to look into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Socrates,
obviously, if you're not familiar, we don't have anything to kind of
go back and I can't really go back and forth with you. However,
for me personally, kind of in my life and my career, this is like, because this is something for me. We're talking about like the at the very beginning, the kind of like 2010s, the way that the like atheist versus theist on the street. A dumb theist compilation turned into like dumb SJW compilation, right? Do you remember that whole period is from like 2012 to like 2014? Things kind of switched over. I was in that kind of like new atheist. Watching a lot of YouTube.
You were when atheists were edgy, right? When it was cool to be an atheist, you were kind of like in that group, and then of course you kind of stayed an atheist. I think.
Yeah, I mean, because for me it wasn't like I was already I just don't believe in God as like a as like a as like
well,
that,
it's funny
that
because
kind of
the nation of Israel, I think it's mostly secularism over there in the actual state of Israel. Majority are secularists as well as like yourself. So I kind of find that a bit ironic is that they've turned away from the religion side of things. Actually, speaking of religion, you're familiar with the Torah, etc. Here's something that I've heard, and I don't want to go back into the Jewish stuff. I want to kind of switch to it more better.
And I'm not a scriptural expert. So
I know you're not. I know you're not.
I may not be familiar.
You might, but okay. Well, I just want to ask this question, and then we can get to something a little bit more fun. Yeah. Can we get to something a little bit more fun? Because we're already at the hour and a half mark. We've been talking politics, so I want to get to a little bit more of a lighter topic. But let me ask you this question: What do the Jews, the religious Jews, specifically, what do they think about Jesus here? Because I've heard, I haven't done full research on here. I've looked at, quotes from I think it was the Torah about how they think of Jesus, that he's burning in hell, that he made a lot of these kind of crazy things. Can you enlighten me what the Torah says about Jesus Christ?
Sure. So the Torah doesn't say anything about Jesus Christ because
because
Jesus came, in
after the Torah, Torah's Old Testament,
right? Right.
Torah's Old Testament, yeah.
So one thing I can say is that in general, so when it comes to the Torah, when it comes to Jewish understanding, we don't have a hell.
You don't have a what?
A hell.
A hell? Okay, there's no hell.
Yeah, so
in the Jewish religion, no hell.
So there's references to like bad places, or like bad things dwell, stuff like that. But there's no kind of like metaphysical conception of like if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell. That didn't really exist at the kind of like biblical kind of Torah time period, and in terms of like modern Jewish theology, we don't have hell. We have like if you're extra studious, you get to sit near to God, and so like when he's kind of like telling you inside stuff about scripture or whatever, you get to like hear it better firsthand. It's stuff like that. You're like first in line to get to paradise. It's more that kind of thing. We don't really have like a, if you're evil, you burn in hell. That's not like a
Okay.
Jewish concept.
Is okay. So in the Jewish situation, or whatever they believe, when let's say me, a Gentile,
Hmm.
passes away,
Hmm.
am I in purgatory or some shit, and I'm
We
waiting in
don't we
line? The
don't we don't
Jewish,
have purgatory. I think purgatory is also like a specifically Catholic thing, and I think they also got rid of it at some point.
Mhm.
I think they ditched purgatory eventually.
No, I get you there. But going back to my question here,
Sure,
but
but
like,
yeah, as a non-Jew,
yeah,
um,
if you can enlighten me about what their opinion is, the religious Jews,
mhm.
on my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, maybe you can help me out with that.
Yeah. So in terms of like kind of like original Torah scripture, I really don't know. I think
Mm,
like you know what I'll say about like Judaism as it emerged at a time at a place
hmm.
is um this was like a tribe in Palestine that was like that was really not thinking about the world in these kind of like totally massive, broad, all-encompassing, universal concepts. And so the idea of like sorting every single human being based on deed into like one place or another, or like maybe even what happens to like Gentiles or whatever. I think they weren't. It was kind of like for them. It's like this is our religion for us. The idea that like anybody outside is even reading this is like not
Hmm.
even a thing, because Jews don't proselytize. We don't convert. We're not going out and
Yeah, you
saying,
don't
"Hey,
convert.
become
Yeah,
Jewish. We're the real
yeah.
religion." Whatever. That's like a Christian thing. If you do
Why
want to
don't you guys do
convert, you
that?
can, but it's like
Right.
it's
It
gonna
takes
be
like
pretty
5 years.
tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to learn
Yeah.
Hebrew. You've got to like do all this stuff. It's really
Right.
not like we're not trying to trying to get everybody into Judaism because it's like the best thing. It's just kind of a thing that was happening at a time in a place. And so the concept of it really even being like relevant to everybody, I think is not what they were thinking of.
No, I don't think so
Um
either.
yeah, like
But it's also an ethnic thing as well, you know.
mhm.
So like the ethnic Jews, or especially with you, like I think it would take a lot easier time for you to go into the religion and be, a religious Jew than somebody like me, who, if I ever wanted to be a
Maybe,
religious
maybe
Jew.
not. I think it would take
But I think the
it would
blood
take some
matters.
extreme things happening in my life to become like a
I
like
mean,
a
yeah.
religious
Well,
like a
if you were willingly wanting to be a religious Jew,
if
I
I
think,
wanted to, like
yeah,
the knowledge gap would be a lot smaller. I
sure,
can, you know, kind of poorly read Hebrew, but like read like transliterate. Like I can read the sounds. I
uh
know
huh,
like very very few words.
okay,
Um,
I
but
got
sure,
you there.
it would be a somewhat shorter path in terms of learning a new language, learning customs and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
Especially
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
Christians, we want to give, the gospel, the word of
Mhm.
Jesus, and get,
Because if
get
somebody
people.
isn't saved, they're going to hell,
Yes,
and so
yeah.
bringing people into the religion is the way to save them. For
So
Jews, it's not like that. We don't have like people who aren't Jews are going to hell. I don't even really. So I grew up in like a. It's like it's not religious the way you have very different walks of life between different types of Jews. So you have like the Hasids. I don't know if you've been in New York. There's like certain areas of New York where you see lots of guys in like hats
oh
and the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
payasses, the
Of
hair,
course, yeah,
walking
yeah, yeah,
around. Lots of
yeah.
kids running,
You gonna
running.
grow out your sideburns with the
Yeah,
curls
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
one
It's
day?
like it's these,
Yeah,
um, right? And they have it's like a really intense way of life. The men study the
yeah.
Torah. The women have lots of kids.
Nice.
Um, they would maybe not, probably not consider me Jewish. Um, same with
Yeah,
yeah, same with like
I
the ultra Orthodox Jews in Israel. They would probably be like, no, you're not a Jew. Um,
Yeah, well, religious type of. You're Jew ethnically, obviously, but okay. Well, that's kind of my question here. Is like I'm just wondering what the
But
Jews
from
believe
my
the
conception, I
Gentiles
don't
will
think that
go.
there is like an
Okay, all
afterlife,
right.
and so I don't think anybody's going.
Yeah, I know you're
You
an
know,
atheist.
yeah, yeah.
I just maybe thought you had a little bit more
But
insight of like where the Gentiles are going after death, right? I'm just kind of curious. Where are the Christians going? Are we
mhm.
burning in hell?
Certainly
Are we
not
in
to hell,
purgatory? Yeah.
not to purgatory. I'm not. I'm not sure. If you do go to heaven, you're kind of sitting in the back, and the
We're
acoustics aren't
waiting in
as
line. We're in
good.
the back of the
Uh,
bus, Socrates. We're the Negroes of heaven. Is the Gentiles, bro? That's
yeah. You're going to be
that is
asking a
pretty
lot
cool.
of. What did God say? I couldn't really catch that. Are there
God,
subtitles?
fuck. Yeah, I'm a Gentile. Don't know.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering on that because I I've heard these types of things. Obviously, it's very counterintuitive to Christianity.
Hmm.
It's another reason why when they say like Judeo-Christian, these are two
Yeah,
counterintuitive
and
religions
they
that
do
mean
that to exclude. They could say Abrahamic religions, but people who say that either
no.
consciously or unconsciously want to exclude Islam.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Like we and I'll even tell you this, bro. Am I fond of the Muslim religion? I'm not. I think that's a false. I do believe that the Jewish religion is also false, right? As a Christian guy. So this is, and I get
Wait,
you, you know.
false or like
Yeah, you guys do not worship the God that I worship, Jesus Christ, you know.
sure, but you do worship. I don't know if you say Jehovah or
Yeah,
I don't
Yahweh, Jehovah.
Yahweh.
That's another
Yeah.
way of saying his name. Yeah,
Right.
Jehovah. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you? Can I ask?
Yes.
Are you like Protestant, Orthodox, Baptist?
Yeah,
What are
that's
the?
a great question. Yeah, so I wasn't really raised as far as like my parents are Jehovah Witnesses, right?
Oh, cool. Okay,
But
yeah. I
yeah,
actually
but I
know a
was
little bit
never.
about. Yeah,
Oh,
I
do you?
talked to a
Okay.
lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Jehovah Witnesses is also a false religion. Like my parents, they're 70 years old, they're embedded in that. There's probably
It's
no
really tough
I'll
to.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Love my mom, love my father. It is what it is. But um, me personally, they never embedded that religion into my head because obviously, I'm in South Texas.
Mhm.
So every time we would go to like it's called the
Kingdom
Watchtower,
Hall,
the
Watchtower.
Kingdom
Yeah.
Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I've
was
been
it
for
was always
Bible study
Spanish.
in a Kingdom Hall
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Kingdom Hall. They have that. It was always Spanish, like Spanish
Mm-hmm.
lectures. Now, I didn't understand Spanish at the time. So I didn't.
Just totally
And it was
immune. There's no.
totally immune to whatever the fuck they're saying in Spanish. Obviously, I'm in an Hispanic community, so I never picked up on it. I didn't care, didn't give a shit. However, I never called myself an atheist. I never called myself that God doesn't exist. I've always believed in God. Um, through my parents and Jehovah, they say Jehovah, God, and knew Jesus. Especially because in this area, it's mostly Catholic.
Mhm.
So I kind of picked up a little bit on that, but nevertheless, me personally, I would consider myself a Protestant. However, I do need to find some type of church. I do want to join either the Orthodox or a Catholic church because as a Protestant, I have a lot of questions that I know I can't solve for
Mhm.
myself studying the Bible or anything like that. I'm not a, I don't do that type of stuff, right? I'm a political commentator. So I do thrive to be in a church, but at this point I would consider myself a Protestant. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I do accept the Trinity. I do accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, etc. So we'll see going forward with my religious
Yeah.
development.
No, that's
Mhm.
cool. That's cool. So you're. I mean, I think that's. I personally think that that's a very interesting place to be, and I personally think that that's a more true place to be. To be um not not like between churches in terms of like, okay, I
Mhm.
left this one, I haven't yet found the next one, but to be not kind of like embedded in one way of thinking.
Yeah, yeah,
Because yeah,
yeah,
um
yeah.
because the church is like an institution, but even I've as a Jew, I have things that I really appreciate about Jesus, and when he talks about like church and congregation, these are
Yeah,
people with a shared mindset toward humanity. This isn't a structure. This isn't a structure with guy who's highest paid and the next highest paid, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is a mindset toward like shared humanity.
Yeah.
And so being a little bit like not locked in to like one um
Like demographic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I know
yeah.
what you mean.
I think that's a very legit place to be.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And like I said, like I think I need to have more conversations with Christians that are in,
Hmm.
either Catholic or Orthodox, whatever the case is. I do need to have more conversations with them, because even myself, I do kind of want to debate some of the stuff that's in the Bible to a degree. I'm not an expert on it.
I'd be happy to debate that if it's something that I'm at all familiar with, because
Yeah, well, even then, like
I'm very
here's the thing.
interested at even as an atheist, I find this thing
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. So do I. So do I.
Got like
I am a
hair in my
believer.
eye.
But at the same time, I can't debate the Bible as far as like what you ought to do and all these kind of other structure. I can talk about the religious stories and what I believe mean in a natural structure of today's society. I'll give you an example. The story of Samson. Was it Samson and Delilah? You know that story, right?
Yeah. Got
Yeah,
the hair losing
Samson.
power.
Exactly, bro. And if you look at that story, and you look at today's society, it really kind of invents a lot of that. Because I look at Samson, he's like the top alpha male. He's the dog. Delilah, who is the whore, she's the deceiver. She's working with the government to take him down. But yet, for some reason, he gave her like 4 or 5 chances before he told her, yeah, it's the hair. And then the government came in and took him out. That really kind of speaks to me because in today's society, especially with young men, you have like the OnlyFans and even rich men, rich, powerful guys that are giving away their money or getting fucked over by the woman as well as the government, especially in marriages and stuff like that. I think you see that. I look at that story and I say, hey, you got to be very careful on the women that you choose. You do not want to pick a Delilah because a Delilah will sell you out for money overnight, and if you look at the divorce rates, you see this, right? So looking at the stories, I can have those conversations, but as far as, the Jesus Christ, was he God or any of that stuff, I can't really get into the theology of that stuff, just kind of like what the stories kind of mean in today's society. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, it's I find that kind of like red pill stuff fascinating as well.
Yeah, the red pill
Because it's
stuff is
like it's interesting, like the guys that are walking around saying stuff like all women are gold diggers, whatever. It's like it's always dudes
that
with
Myron
like big
Gaines?
flashy watches with like it's
Yeah.
like, well, you're broadcasting that you have money, whether you do or not, but you're broadcasting that you do at least partly to attract like a mate.
Women.
So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, is there a little bit that maybe you're kind of creating your own reality here? Like you're reflecting into the world and you're getting something back that's exactly what you're putting out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And that-
I've never had that experience in my life ever, and
Are
it's not because I don't know, there's something like special about me or whatever, but it's just like that's not
Yeah.
how I look for relationships. That's not how I relate to people, and so I've never had that. This person's only into me for my money. That's not what I'm putting out into the world. That like that's
Well,
I don't.
Socrates, you're Jewish, so I assume you're rich. So maybe some of these ladies will come up to you for that money, man.
After
I just
this airs,
assume
I
you have
expect
money.
to see a lot of traffic.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let me ask you this, since we're on the red pill topic. I'm kind of glad we kind of came into this, but
Yeah.
this is a fun one. This is a fun one with the red pill stuff.
Mm.
As far as like when it comes to male and female dynamics, I've heard from the red pill, because the way I look at the red pill is that I agree with all of the descriptors of the red pill. I think women are attracted to men that are, for example, tall. Tall men or men with money. Now, there's reasons for this because women, being the weaker sex throughout history, and a biological reason is that they want to mate or settle down with a guy that is strong with resources for protection of them as well as their children.
And
This
everybody's
makes
attracted
sense.
to men who are tall, in the sense that
Oh yeah,
if you're tall, you're more likely to become a CEO, or you're just
Yes.
respected by everybody.
halo
So
effect. The
it's
halo
kind
effect.
of a
Yeah. Yeah, 100% you're right on that. Like one thing that I've noticed is that especially in business, if you're an attractive male, good looking guy, etc., you will get more sales. You will get more people saying yes to you strictly because you're an attractive individual, right? Now, if you could speak well, if you're like, let's say, Andrew or Tristan Tate, that are tall, handsome dudes with a lot of money and they're very well spoken, you're going to get a lot of people saying, like, you know what, I believe this guy, It's kind of the halo effect. This is something in psychology that they talk about, is that attractive people can sell you more than somebody who's short, fat, and ugly, And it makes sense to that degree. So I think women do look for resources, and they have a laundry list of what they find in a male partner. I think when it comes to males, and maybe you disagree or agree with me, obviously we're guys here, is that I think a lot of men, including myself, I think we prioritize looks a little bit, as the first line of defense before anything else. Is this accurate here in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think femininity and like the female form are sexualized in a way that like the male form is. So if you think about like, a rom-com or whatever, there's like, I don't know, 90s, 2000s, whatever. There's some slow-mo of like a girl in a bikini. It's like, oh wow, she's so hot. And then there's some scene where guys like, oh, oops, I'm naked, whatever. And it's like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
Right. And so there's this kind of, I'm sure you've heard the term like male gaze, whatever.
The male gaze. Yeah.
It's the idea that it's like, however things are created, the kind of like expectation of the worldview is from like a male perspective. Because like, obviously for a girl seeing like a hot guy who's oops without his clothes off, that's hot for them in the way that us, seeing a girl in a bikini is hot. But the societal kind of like lens that everybody grows up with, everybody's accustomed to thinking about the world, is it's like women hot, men, we got to bring something to the table. It's got to be
in order
funny.
To be hot.
It's
in order to be hot. Yeah, funny, charismatic, maybe in shape. Chris Farley, bro, fucking fat piece of shit. He got a lot of women just because he was so funny and charismatic, and people loved him. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like a mindset. And my experience in life, and part of this has to be, where I grew up, in a more liberal, more academic area. This would, I'm sure, be very different in a different area. But my experience of the world is that men and women are basically the same in like 99% of stuff.
I don't know about
when
that,
it comes
bro.
to no.
Okay, but explain.
When it comes to like, girls can see a dude and be like, wow, that guy's hot. I want to get to know him, in the same way that a guy can look at a girl and be like, oh, she's hot, I want to get to know him. But then the next thing that happens is a lot of like societal intricacies built on, because like a guy is like, okay, well, if I shoot my shot and I get her talking to me, like that's a win for me, even if I don't get her number, even if we don't go out on a date.
Oh yeah, you get that dopamine hit,
I get this dopamine.
Yeah.
For a girl, there's like that exists, but at the same time, like all this other stuff rushes in, which is like, oh God, what if he like doesn't leave me alone after? What if he's a creep? What if he's a weirdo? What if he follows me home?
Oh yeah.
Every
defense mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
like,
they're the weaker sex. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just the weaker sex, because like if you lived, if this isn't like if this isn't a comedy that somebody's made, because this is the kind of comedy that would have been made in like the 90s, 2000s. If this doesn't exist, it should be, because this is a gold mine what I'm presenting right now, which is like you switch the roles and you make it like some guy somewhere. It's like every girl starts doing to him what like every girl. If you talk to any woman in your life, they're gonna say like, I was wearing a dumpy sweatshirt standing at a bus station, and this dude started following me home. Like I didn't look good. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even not dressed hot. Like I was dressed like trash. And this dude like followed me home and stalked me. And this happens like all the time. Yeah. Like even if you're bigger, like people following you home at any size.
Oh yeah.
Is not a pleasant, is not a safe feeling.
Have you ever seen the movie Shallow Hal
I've seen like
with Jack Black?
I know that. Yeah, I know the premise.
Oh,
Is like
dude, you need.
that's
It's
the
so.
closest
It's.
maybe to like.
Oh, dude, you need to watch that movie.
But that's
It's
literally like,
hilarious.
oh, it's like the thing that's going wrong is like, oh, they're they're bigger than I
Yeah,
thought they were. They're not like they're not stalking him. They're not trying to kill him. Whatever. There's like the dynamics are like feel like they're kind of
sure.
flipped
Yeah,
because they're like whatever social value is lower because they're big and versus his perception of their
of
value
beauty.
whatever,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
he's getting this dopamine even though it's like he wouldn't be if he were
He wouldn't be
seen
if he saw the
clearly.
true of what they look like.
Yeah,
That's kind
exactly.
of like the point
Hmm.
there is that if men had to lower their standards to like, okay, I'm just gonna hit on chicks that are like ones, you
Hmm.
could be the most like you like as a guy, you can come up to these fucking disgusting chicks and be charismatic. They're gonna think you're charismatic.
Hmm.
Now, have I
Yeah.
used to be a musician, by the way.
Oh,
I
oh,
used to be a
nice.
musician, so I
What do you
very
play?
much guitar player,
Oh, nice.
guitar player.
Okay.
Bro. Yeah, so I played heavy metal music. I played in a power band and a hard rock band,
Oh,
but
sick.
we would tour
Okay, you
all
gotta
around
link me
Texas,
that
man.
sometime.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we toured all around Texas, bro. So I met a lot of different types of women,
Hmm.
and I've noticed, and it's kind of true, especially guys in the scene, is that they would be like, "Well, it's a slow Tuesday. I'm gonna go after the fucking fat chick because it's easier access to these girls, right?" And this was again back in the day, the way you explained earlier, right? Is that was kind of the dynamics of things, right? The hot chicks take more time. The hot chicks take more resources, more time to kind of develop to bang them. It is what it is. But with fatter girls or girls that have low self esteem or are less attractive, they become a lot more easier. So when you look at Shallow Hal, where he saw fat chicks or ugly chicks as beautiful, uh, it became like he was able to hook up with these girls. He was able to wow them, right? To where girls that are actually attractive wouldn't have gave him the time of day. That's kind of like the main crux of how Jack Black was able to score these chicks, right? And I think that still aligns today, especially with social media. Remember at the time, I think that movie, there was no social media at the time. With social media, and tell me if you agree with me or not, with
Hmm.
social media, we've seen an uprise in like the fat movement. Fat is beautiful, all these things. And I've noticed that fat chicks nowadays have a higher ego to where they're like fours, but they believe themselves to be like a seven or an eight. And they kind of have this ego of like hot girls now, right? Because of social media, because men, let's be honest, a lot of men, they'll fuck anything really. So they kind of higher up their egos, and now we see kind of like an uprising, like the fat movement, the fat beautiful movement. Do you think there's any truth to that in your perspective here, or is there any pushback
Yeah,
on
I actually don't. I actually don't agree. I think there's some things that are like very, very visible, that are
Mhm.
very kind of like in your faces, like, oh, this is a big thing. I think from social media, that's like a reaction on social media to social media. Because what I see as the prevalent thing of social
Mhm.
media is like rise in eating disorders for,
Sure.
stuff that used to be just we would think of as kind of disease social conditions for girls. We're now seeing for boys the amount of like bulimia, eating disorder, kind of like self-image
Mhm.
issues when it comes to your body that was like really we were only seeing in girls, we're now seeing in like skyrocketing levels in boys. So I think
Okay.
there's like I think that kind of like fat acceptance whatever is like an attempt at a band-aid of like a very ineffective
To
band-aid
make
on
them feel
top of
better about themselves? Yeah, I don't think that's a good way of going about it, right?
no, I mean we need to just you know I don't know.
Tell them they're fat and tell them to lose
I'm
weight. I think that's the best
no. I
formula.
mean, so the thing is, like, they've already heard that. There's nobody who's fat who hasn't heard. Oh, maybe I should lose. Oh, fuck, I never thought of that. Right? I'm old enough that for me it's like, well, just get rid of social media. It's like, fine, sure, let's do it. Like, cool, that's fine. Like,
You would get rid of social media if you really. Do you think?
um, I think there's a huge amount of harm. I,
I
I
think it's a double-edged sword, though. I think
it
there's a lot
is
of
no,
good
no.
with social media. Like
Um,
we without social media, we wouldn't be talking right now,
Sure,
having these
yeah, yeah, yeah.
conversations. Yeah.
I wish for decommodified social media, because what we have right now is like anti-social media, right? So we have social media in
Hmm.
the idea that it's like I'm gonna upload a photo from my meal so that my friends can see it, and other people who maybe aren't my
Yeah.
friends can see it, and maybe they'll want to be my friends. Like
Right.
that could exist, and that could be great. But we don't just kind of generically have social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram,
Hmm.
and those are owned by Meta, owned by Mark
Yeah.
Zuckerberg, and those are like the people who are not in cancer research now because that's defunded. Some of them are going to go into, what's that quote, whatever, the smartest minds of my generation are figuring out how to get people to click on ads, right?
Oh
There-
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
it's
course, of
like
course. Yeah.
people
And they're
people
putting
with
ads on everything these days,
Mhm.
bro.
people
You
with
know?
real deep understanding of human psychology are
Oh yeah.
weaponizing it
They're
to
they're they're wrecking it on social media, bro. Like
Mhm.
even look, I'll even give you an example with the NFL. One thing that the NFL Network had was Red Zone, right? What
Mhm.
Red Zone was is that they would show all of the teams that were about to score touchdowns. So they would show all the
Okay.
highlights, yeah, and it was really great for NFL fans because they could see all of the different
Yeah. But
games. And
but like before it happens, it's like, oh, they're
yeah,
close. Like if this
yeah,
goes through, this is gonna be
yes, when they go into the red
okay.
zone,
So
right?
it's
And
like so much pop up of like
so much
this is
pop
about
ups.
to be, it's the cream of the
Yes.
crop.
Yes, but what made that so popular was that it was ad free. It was 7 hours of just fucking football, right? And
Hmm.
people love that. People love that shit, especially if you're doing fantasy football. You can keep track of all the players that you
Hmm.
have. So it was great shit.
Yeah.
They signed a deal with ESPN. Now ESPN, they marketed it as
Hmm.
Red Zone is ad free football, right? 7 hours. This is great. Now they're saying, well, we got to put ads now.
Of course, we
ESPN,
got
we're
to
gonna
make
put
money.
ads, and we're gonna make more money off of this shit. And that's I think the key point is that you're putting ads on so much shit, so much everything. Now you have to pay for like for example with YouTube, pay
Hmm.
premium for ad free
Yep.
content. Which
Yep.
I mean I get it to a degree, but let's be perfectly honest, man.
This is
You know
other
the month.
people's shit, right? YouTube
Yes,
doesn't make
yes,
a
yes, yeah.
a single
They
thing.
don't, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't. Like without the content creators, like myself, yourself,
Hmm.
many of these people here, YouTube wouldn't even be relevant without it, right? And then they take a cut, especially if you're monetized here, they take a 30% cut in all super chats, right?
Yeah.
So it's
And
very
that's
difficult to make a
donating
living.
money. I don't know
That's
what the
donating money, bro.
for like I
Donating
don't know what
money.
the I feel like it's got to be like 80-20 or like
It's
they take the
dude,
lion's
ads
share for
barely
sure,
pay
right?
anything.
Yeah.
They barely pay anything for us. There was one video. Look, I'll even give you an example. Oh, it was before I was monetized, but I had a video of mine go viral. I think it ended around like 600,000 views
Wow.
or something like that. But I wasn't monetized. I think I only had like 300 subs.
Hmm.
Off of that video, I was able to get 1,000, and I got
Yep.
monetized. I think maybe the last 200,000 views or 300,000 views. I was able to monetize it, and
Nice.
off
Yeah.
of that, with like let's say 200,000, that was ads on there. I only made about $400, $400 on 200,000
Hmm.
views,
Yeah.
300,000 views. That's like, you know how difficult it is to even get that amount of viewage
No, that's
like
that's
on a
massive. Yeah.
video. It's massive, and almost more than 500,000 views I got on there, and I got paid shit,
Hmm.
compared to the viewership and the advertisement. So YouTube doesn't pay anything, bro.
Hmm.
It really doesn't pay anything, especially if your content's averaging 1,000 views or 2,000 views or 3,000. Like you're not gonna make much.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
chats is where it's at, especially if you're a live streamer. Is the donations that we get from the supporters, and they take 30%
Yeah.
cuts even off of them.
Straight up donations.
It's wild, bro. It's
Yeah.
fucking wild,
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We gotta, as content creators, we have to kind of push through that.
So that's my. I
So
mean, that's my like. For me, that's where leftism comes in. Is we say
mhm.
like, okay, God didn't make YouTube. Fucking Google made YouTube. And who made the internet? It wasn't a company. It was goddamn
Was it
public
a Jew?
sector. Okay.
I'm kidding.
Maybe no.
Maybe.
It was Al Gore, right? Um,
Yeah.
right. Like this was a thing that was created as like a something with a democratic potential. Democratic in the sense that's like everybody has some stake in this. The internet now we're seeing how much this affects all of us. We're seeing how much our participation in terms of how we talk to each other, affects us. This is something that shouldn't be in the hands of like a few corporations to control. This is something that should be public. What does that mean? Does it mean it's controlled by the government? Does it mean that
Yeah, what exactly do you
collectively
mean
we
by public
fund,
here?
everybody just decides to donate $5 to like a thing, maybe it's like like Wikipedia is like,
Hmm.
they're like, please donate. We're never going to run ads. We don't want to run ads, but this is like,
Right.
this is important stuff. This is just like, this is a thing for the new millennium, that we have this technology. It shouldn't be in the hands of, there's no company that's ever going to take the place of YouTube that's going to be less sociopathic and as successful, right? Anybody who's going to take that place is going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be messing with our
Yeah.
psychology to get us to click. It's always going to be like that. That's where this kind of like, what should exist that's outside of the profit motive. Have you heard of this like problem of the commons? This idea
Um,
of the commons. It's like we have a common space. It's like you have, a public park. It's
mhm.
like anybody can just go there. They can just
Right.
hang out. They can have a picnic. They can take their kids on the swing. They don't have to they don't have to watch an ad to go in.
Right.
You know, that's funded based on like property tax dollars, usually something like
Sure.
that, right? So there's, the government is involved in extracting money in order to provide this good. Exactly how that, that's one implementation. But the recognition that these spaces are important and they can't be in the hands of a corporation, because no corporation is ever gonna be just benevolent, or we can't
Yeah.
leave it up to chance. In the same way that
But
like a king, maybe they'll be
yeah.
nice, but like we don't want a king, we want a
But
democracy, right?
Socrates, like here's the thing: if you put it, let's say, in the hands of let's say the government has YouTube, it's still going to result in the same thing, even if our taxpayer money is
Well,
involved with
so
that,
so
right?
so some
I
things might some things that might suck and that you hate might be there. So there might be some form of censorship. There might be stuff like that.
Sure,
What there
sure,
doesn't
but
have to be is there doesn't have to be um, people getting paid by the government to figure out how to fuck with you to get you to click more. That doesn't
I
have to be there, but it has
I
to be there for a company.
well, yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. As far as like advertisements, we do have to realize there are small businesses like let's say you want to start a business.
Hmm.
If you're going to run your ads off of like let's say YouTube for your Amazon business,
Hmm.
I think that will benefit even smaller businesses as well, right?
Hmm.
So I think it to a degree, yes, I hate advertisements, bro. I hate advertisements. Most of them I skip. I don't like it. But
Hmm.
however, and I don't get paid enough from YouTube on that, but at least I get something. At least I
Hmm.
get something, right? It is very difficult to make a career on that. If you banked on it early, this is why you have like Destiny when he was first doing the streamings. They accumulated an audience. Now they can they can actually do their business. Or even somebody like Andrew Wilson who started 2 years ago, and yeah, that guy has very successful in what he did. So there is still a way to do it. However, I do understand that when it comes to capitalism, especially if you're going to make your own business, I don't mind putting my business out with ads. You got to take advantage of the system of what you have. However, yes, I get it. YouTube and the corporations are going to have it, but who else would you have it in the hands of that are making these decisions, if not a corporation or the government? Like
Yeah.
where would you put that?
So so there's distinctions between, so if you want to have like a media business and you say, you know what, YouTube, they take 30% of ads, they take whatever it is, or 30% of donations, whatever it is
Right.
of ads, 80%, 90%, I don't know, whatever. But it's
Yeah.
like, you know what, I can make that work.
Yeah.
It's they're providing access. Um, I don't want to go through building my own platform. It allows me to focus on the right. That's fine. I,
That's fine.
I don't
Yeah.
have any issue with that existing. I'm talking,
Mhm.
this would be like, the version would be like a public option. I think there should be a
Yeah.
place where I can put out a political message that I want people to hear and I want to be able to refer to. And it's like publicly available, publicly visible. If lots of people like it, maybe there's some way to see, oh, this is a very popular thing,
Right.
right? And it's not about the fact that they take a cut. That's not the problem. That's not the problem with social media. The problem isn't that they're making money. The problem is that they're getting children addicted to it.
Oh, okay. No, yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. I totally agree
Same
with you
thing
on
with
that. In
tobacco.
fact,
If you want to,
sa-
hand roll your own tobacco, like fucking go for it. But
speaking of
getting
tobacco,
kids
what the fuck?
addicted to
Yeah.
getting children addicted to something that's going to kill them,
Yeah.
that I do have an issue with.
I have an issue with that as well.
Yeah.
You're totally right on that. You know, it's funny because I've seen studies when it comes to social media on the dopamine hits that people get. So, for
It's
example,
unreal. Yeah.
if you're a teenage girl, let's say you're 15 years old, you're a teenage girl, you're on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram or whatever. You post a picture on there and you get 100 likes.
Mm-hmm.
That those 100 likes and those comments telling you that she's beautiful, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
you get so much dopamine hit to the degree of you get dopamine hit to the degree of like you just had sex or you're drinking alcohol also causes dopamine, right? It's on the same degree of the dopamine hit. You're giving that to kids. You might as well fucking give them access to the fucking to the liquor cabinet right, at that point, because they're going to get the same type of dopamine hit. I think that when it comes to social media, even though social media says you have to be 18 or up, but there's no real.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Of course not.
How many of those 100 likes are from
Yeah,
who are not 15?
PDF files, bro. Let's
Right?
fucking be 100 about it.
Yeah.
And then I've even seen on Instagram, it's absolutely disgusting, by the way, parents, women, especially women, that will have their 12-year-old, 14-year-old daughter dancing on TikTok or Instagram, and they're getting a whole bunch of fucking likes and dopamine hits that they're willing to sell out their kid for a paycheck and some dopamine and attention, bro.
Yeah.
It's wild to me, bro.
Boomers are teenagers when it comes to their ability to like engage with internet and social media in like a responsible
definitely.
way. Yeah.
Definitely, bro. But I just find that so fucking insane to me, you know, is that we are giving the liquor cabinet to children on social media, especially Instagram. I've so much that I've read on Instagram of especially girls that don't get the attention of other girls, it really shoots out their confidence because they're comparing themselves to other women, right? Especially with these IG models that have BBLs and breast implants. It's just so ridiculous. That human body isn't natural. It doesn't exist, you know? It's man-made. It's not
even
made
if
from
it does,
God.
It's lighting, it's angles, it's hundreds of
Yes.
photos, it's filters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, bro. So it's wild to me that I see parents kind of putting their children, especially underage children, on there. Even though Instagram's supposed to be 18 or up, but you can clearly see that she's not. You can even on the bio, you have like their ages on there and they're underage. It's fucking wild to me, bro. But I get you. I totally agree with you that the dopamine hits that children get off of social media is not good for them. And I think we need to put some legislation on there to absolutely limit that, especially with like pornography. If you know, like in Texas, like I think it's Cornhub and a couple other websites in Texas. If you live here, you can actually get access to those websites without giving your age, right? Which is a great thing. By the way, I don't give my age out to anything or your age and your name and your information. You don't want to give your information to a fucking corn site that's gonna have your name and everything like that. It's just crazy to me.
Is it like a whole like do you literally just say, okay, select your age like it is on Steam where you just
like you have to sign in. They literally say sign in with Google and shit like that.
Oh,
right?
okay. It's like tied to some account. It's not like
dude.
You literally just put like, oh, I was born in 1903.
Nope.
Okay.
They made it to where you have to actually see your identity, your actual identity of whatever thing you're doing.
Which is again, I mean, that's like these are not simple issues, you know, because anonymity on the internet, I think, is also very, very important. Like to me, there's a distinction between, I think there's so much that is important that you can be anonymous on the internet. And yet at the same time, it's very clear when it comes to social media, when it comes to, I really don't like saying these weird euphemism phrases. This is a YouTube thing. I'll say it, cornography.
Yeah, cornography.
Will I mess up your account?
No, you're not. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
Say corn or pornography. You're good on that. Yeah.
But can I say the uncensored version, or will that be an issue?
Well, usually they'll try. If you say it once or twice.
Okay, but if it's a lot, it'll flag it.
They'll definitely flag it. Yeah.
Wild. But you know, it's really clear that those companies are not just incidentally having kids watching their content. Like this is intentional, this is known. And the getting kids addicted to social media, this is not something that kind of happened and it's like
Mhm.
an externality. This is their business model, right? Is to get
Yeah.
kids addicted to social media young. And
Oh yeah.
to say like what I hear, unfortunately, so often from conservatives, and I guess
Mhm.
this would be kind of a call out.
Go
I'm
for it.
curious, like, is like, well, kind of like free market, throw your hands up. It sucks, but like,
Mhm.
what can we really do? Age verification, okay, that's one.
That's
That's
one
one thing.
component.
That's one approach to trying to deal with that. But like this kind of thing, it's like, well, they're making money, and you can't fuck with somebody who's making money. And to me, that's just kind of like, hey, if you're selling heroin to kids, like, yeah, of course, we can stop you from doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. No, look. I get you there. It's funny because like you would consider yourself progressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've noticed with progressives, they might complain about these companies, but however, they're still contributing to the social media themselves as well. You know, complaining about it,
Sure.
and I
Yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
get you there. And you kind of have to. You
Yeah.
have to do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally understand that. But however, at the same time, man, let's be 100% honest. The money does run the world. Like it is what it is, right? And the Bible speaks about this, and it's going to happen. It's inedible and elevable. I don't know which word I'm looking for, but nevertheless, like
Inevitable.
there you go. Thank you. It's going to happen, especially how technology's developing, especially with AI. AI is just absolutely insane at this point. I can only imagine how crazy it's going to be in 10 years or so. Stephen Hawking even said that the development of AI is going to be the end of humanity. Now, do I believe that? I don't know. But looking at Terminator and stuff like that, it could be the case. I'm not gonna go on that ship, but we'll see in the future of that. But this is what we see with technology: is that it makes our lives convenient, but it's a double-edged sword
Mm-hmm.
to where things that we didn't think about could affect us, especially on a mental health situation. Because we're
Mm-hmm.
humans, bro. We're
Yeah.
humans. We're not made to rely
It's a
on
very
everything. We
fast
need
change.
very fast change, and I think as humans, we need adversity in our lives. I think every human being, especially as men, we need some type of
Well,
adversity.
so I'll put a caveat. I'll agree, but put a caveat, which
Hmm.
is because we get adversity from social media. We get challenges. We get, oh, okay, I got 10 likes. How do I get to 50? You know, or, oh, I
Yeah,
didn't get
it's
any
not real
likes. How do,
adversity. I'm
right?
I'm talking about like
We need a certain kind of adversity. There's certain types of adversity that allow you to build yourself up.
sure,
If adversity of pull-ups, can make you
like
stronger. Adversity
yeah,
of
yeah,
social media can put you in a cage where you're thinking about the war. You're orienting your values
uh-huh,
along this axis that's built for you. That's really like dehumanizing and detriment. How do I commodify myself? How do I turn
yeah,
myself into a product that people will buy? That's
yeah.
a really messed up
I totally agree with you on
type
that. Like,
of
look,
challenge. Yeah.
yeah, look at social media like influencers to where
Hmm.
they will change their opinion based off of their audience.
Hmm.
If you tap into the type of audience that's
Yeah.
there, they will develop their opinion based off of that.
Yeah.
Just because they'll lose their audience if they go against it, even if
Hmm.
they believe it, bro.
And that's
You
where you were
know?
saying like yeah, where influencers do that, people who are kind of political, like independent talking heads will do this. That's
Yeah.
the thing that people criticize in politicians.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, and so every social media influencer is acting as a politician in the sense of like,
In a way.
they'll be
In a way.
honest in,
Yeah.
kind of honest with one audience. They won't answer direct questions in another arena.
Yeah.
That kind of double speak and obfuscation that
Hmm.
would be reserved for, okay, well, you're part of public office now. I mean, we're talking on a public platform, and we have to censor ourselves with different technology,
Oh yeah. Oh
with
yeah.
with a number of words. It's kind of like weird, like newspeak I finally read
Yeah.
1984 for the first time like last year.
What the fuck, really?
Yeah.
George Orwell, bro?
Yeah.
Come on. That's a classic.
I
Yeah.
read Animal Farm in school. I never read
So did I.
1984.
Animal
Yeah.
Farm was in school, but
Yeah. Yeah,
1984
we did too,
wasn't.
1984, yeah.
Yeah, same.
Um,
But no, I totally get you though. To be honest, man, like even like I'll even say I do love my chat and everything like that. Like, is there times where I'm having conversations with like the opposite political spectrum and they say like get them on this? Yeah, perhaps, but I'm not here to. In this scenario here, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
Fine with that. If we were in a debate format, then I would go into debate mode. I think there's two different modes that you have to kind of go about when you're doing when you're doing content or you're having conversations or debate. I think debate's very good because you're testing out to the highest degree of whatever their logic is, right? Or whatever the scenario is, whatever the debate prompt is, etc. With a conversation, you're trying to understand the individual here, you know? So I think these are two different conversations. So, or two different aspects, right? So I think that's where I want to go, especially with content, is conversations, debates, and of course, you know, reviews on other people's opinions and the news, etc. Like I think that's the best way to go with that. I think do you do mostly debates? I saw your channel earlier. It looks like you do a lot of live stream debate stuff.
yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, I do all those categories. I do, yeah, debates, conversations, reviews.
Yeah.
I find all that very compelling. Um, Conversations they can be hard to set up, but I find them generally very gratifying. You know, if people go
Mhm.
into an interaction saying like, okay, I'm gonna try to treat this person as a person.
Yeah.
You know, I work very hard to say, okay, I feel like I'm getting like kind of like this kind of polarized political feeling that we're actually moving away from talking as individuals, and we're like, okay, let me pull out this thing that I heard, because I heard them pull out this thing that they heard, and let's put these other two opinions that we've heard head to head. And I think there is a time and a place for that. I think it's there's like a capacity to recite talking points and whatever that's kind of a
Totally get you there.
political rhetorical posturing that I find enjoyable and I find fun.
Right.
But the human, like, it can be a lot of spectacle without a lot of fruit.
Mhm.
The personal human interaction, I feel like, is the thing that is most lacking in our lives
Mhm.
right now, because you can look and you could find, you know, Jubilee with, you know, some people yelling at each other, bringing really
Sure.
good debate points, whatever, but it's like, you know, one person starts speaking from the heart and they get voted out immediately, right? They're
Oh
just
yeah,
done.
of course. Well, it's
And
not
no one wants to
entertaining,
hear that.
Socrates. Like, it's not even fun to listen to that, right?
Right,
We
but
want
we
blood.
live in a
like,
politically
yeah.
polarized, divided
Sure.
time, and everybody kind of like agrees with that, and they're like, we need to turn down the temperature, but we don't know how. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
you
like
don't. You don't.
we're all
It's,
like,
bro, you don't know how to do that because
we're Edward
dude, we have
flamethrower
X.
hands, and we're trying to
Oh,
put
yeah.
out these fires.
Well, fighting fire with fire, Socrates.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like X is full of that, bro. Like X is
Mm.
just full with like debates and arguments, etc.
Mhm.
Even when I did the Destiny debate, I had several people coming onto my social media saying, "Ah, he pwned your ass. He did this, blah
Exactly,
blah blah."
yeah.
And I get it, like they're Destiny fans or whatever. And then I just reply back on, well, how did he do that? This is what these were my facts. How did he do that?
No
And they don't really
response.
care. No response,
No
or they don't
response.
care. They're just saying, no, you just
Yeah.
lost for the sake of it. Whatever, don't
Mhm.
care. But that's just kind of the world we live in. But I kind of enjoy it to a degree because I am a competitor.
Yeah.
I played football in high school. I was a musician. I always wanted my band to be the top-notch band, you know. So I've always been in that competitor field for me. So I think with debates, I feel good in a debate. I feel good with competing against my opponent. I want to crush them in a debate, you know, because I feel, and I would say this, and I'm sure you feel the same way, is that my worldview is better than yours. And if it's not better, convince me otherwise. And if I do lose on points, I'm gonna adjust it and come back better and stronger, right? Like a Saiyan, like the Zentai boost
I
of a
saw
Saiyan, bro.
the DBZ
Yeah.
intro.
The DBZ shit, you know? And Goku was fine if he lost the fight. He just said, "I'm going to come back better and stronger."
Yeah.
And I think with debate for me, or with anything that's competitive, that's how I see things.
Mhm.
You know, and of course with respect. Like here, this is a conversation. I'm happy to have any conversation with somebody, but at the same time, like this is my worldview, and I want to push it. And just like the leftists want to push their worldviews, or the progressives, or the conservatives, or the neo whatever the case is, um, we're on that battle, and I understand that we live in this polarized world to where it's a battle of ideas, and I'm more than happy to enter the arena. That's how I think of it, anyways. You know,
That's interesting. So it's like for me, there's an element of that, and I love the competition. I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got some
yeah, I
Taekwondo
saw
stuff.
that. Yeah. So
Um,
you have that experience of that. Like you don't want to
yeah,
lose, right? Like especially if you enter a debate, I don't want to lose it. I don't enter a debate ever to lose, you know? And
I don't want to lose, and I do want to win. What I care about, even more is it being a good fight, and this is where I kind of dropped
yeah.
off of a lot of the Twitch politics.
Mhm.
Twitch politics in general can be kind of a hyperbolic time
It's
chamber
pretty wild. Yeah.
for training.
Oh yeah.
Training a lot,
Oh
because you
yeah.
can get into you get into a lot of you get into a lot of arguments, but an argument is not a debate.
A debate. Yeah. I
Yeah, an
agree.
argument
I
is two
agree.
people yelling at each other,
Yeah.
finding ways to tear each other down. A debate is presenting information, presenting argumentation that
Yeah.
includes, there's so the kind of classical forms of argumentation or rhetoric are pathos, logos, ethos.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. But with argumentation, you don't see that. And look, I get the argumentation aspects of things, especially if you're on a panel and you're not prepared or you're not prepped to kind of back this stuff up.
mhm,
You see a lot of that, especially with Twitch politics, and I get you there. It
yeah.
is kind of like a hyperbolic time chamber, especially if you have you have your facts in line. You could
Mhm.
really get a lot of reps with that.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're right on that. Yeah, I
Mhm.
never thought of it that way, but you're right. You're right on that. But yeah, there is a big difference between argumentation or arguments and actual
Mhm.
debates, you know?
So I like
So
the kind of structured formatted debate where you have like a you have so for it to be a real debate, for anybody who's watching who's curious about this stuff, to be a real debate, there has to be a topic, there has
yep,
to be some rule set, and there has
yep,
to be some judgment of a
right.
winner, right? Because obviously the person, your audience is going to think you won, and the other audience is going to think they won, and
Yeah, of course. And
how do
it's
you
like a boxing
judge?
fight. It's a
Exactly.
boxing fight, Socrates.
Yeah.
Like it's like even with boxing, if you have two boxers that go toe to toe for 12 rounds,
Hmm.
they judge it off of rounds. Like
Yep.
even us as an audience, we judge it off. And judges have particular score points of how they judge things, whether it
Hmm.
be aggression, who's the more aggressor, who got more punches in, who got this exact. There's some type of format there, you know.
Yeah.
So the guy that you thought won could lose, and you will still be in your mind that he won the fight,
Hmm.
but he just lost the judgment, right?
Hmm.
I think that's what debate is kind of is. It's a modern day boxing, but through verbal combat rather
Hmm.
than physical combat, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this is what I like about it, and I think this is important, especially to the political spectrum where we're all bickering with each other. I think we do need to shoot out these ideas. But I think you're right that I think conversations like what we're having is just as important, but it's boring. It doesn't get as much views. Let's
I
be
think
honest, you know?
I think it I think it can be boring. It's harder to
Well, it's
pull.
not boring for me.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
this.
No, I mean
But
for people watching,
right.
it's a lot harder to pull clips off of, because
Yes.
so here's the thing. So if people are having a debate or argument or something and it gets heated, and especially if they start name calling, whatever, if I'm a viewer and I stumble onto this and I don't know what they're talking about, I don't know what
Right.
sides they're representing, but one dude is calling another dude uh
A mag or
short,
whatever.
dumb
Short,
little troglodyte,
fat.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, get his ass.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Like, yeah. This
Yeah.
dude's getting wrecked.
Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
have some buy-in. I can have some emotional, some feeling about this with
Right.
zero context. For it to be a conversation, you need to have some context, to have some meaning behind it. Oh,
Yeah.
these people are sharing a nice moment. I don't care. Like
Yeah.
whatever. I don't know. What are they talking about? No, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I
I don't
agree.
relate to that at a visceral level, right? So
Yeah.
it's this is one thing where the kind of like you know, shorts, clips,
Yep.
short form, something that you can put together that will grab attention, grab attention, grab attention.
Right.
The move toward that, you know, back in my day, um, you know, Vine, whatever. Not that I watched, you know, followed Vine or whatever, had a Vine
Oh,
account, but it's like,
Vine.
oh, those were
Yeah.
like, you know, 30 seconds, 60
There were 7
seconds,
seconds. There were
7
7
seconds,
seconds. The
7
vines.
seconds.
Yeah,
What
the
was the,
vines.
I guess TikToks are actually longer.
Yeah, TikToks are a
TikToks are a
minute.
little
But
longer.
yeah, but at first with the
Um,
vines, they were like
mhm.
7-second clips, but they got real popular at one
Yeah,
point,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
they kind of died out, etc. Yeah.
hmm
The
But it's like
vines.
the attention span has gotten really, really, really short. And
Yeah.
it's hard to not see this as a kind of nefarious, almost like subconscious but semi-intentional thing. I grew up on like dystopian sci-fi. That's the kind of like books I read,
Yeah.
the kind of movies I watched.
Max, what is it? Max Fury, stuff like that, or
Yeah, Max Payne,
Yeah.
whatever, you know, The Matrix, which is,
Yeah.
you know, the origin of the red pill. I don't know if this is just a fun factoid for anybody who's watching. The red pill in The Matrix, you see the real world. The red
Mhm.
pill is an estrogen pill.
Holy shit! It's an estrogen pill.
Yeah, because the
Yo, man, now you're
estradiol,
talking shit.
they were little pink pills.
Uh,
And the Matrix is a trans allegory for anybody who doesn't know. The two creators, the Wachowskis,
mhm.
started as the Wachowski brothers at the time they published, now the Wachowski sisters. Um, if you want to
Oh yeah, they're
see,
trans, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. This is a
Yeah.
trans allegory. One of the characters actually, Switch, was supposed to be played by a trans actor and supposed to be canonically trans,
Oh shit.
and are supposed to be like played by a different person in the
Right.
Matrix because they're trans.
Right.
Ended up getting like nixed by the production company.
Oh shit. I didn't know that.
But this is really interesting stuff. If you want to see more out of one of the sisters, actually Sense8, like sense and then the number 8, really really cool, like weird sci-fi. That's like,
Uh-huh.
you know, if you love the Matrix and you want more. Um,
Yeah, I
but
get you there. I was never big on the Matrix, just FYI. But yeah,
oh man,
I think I saw like part two. I think I saw part one. And I was like, oh, this
yeah.
is pretty cool.
But
But I
part
think I
two
saw
and
the
three
next one.
were,
I lost interest
it
after
was a
that.
little,
I
it
just
got really I don't know. Kind
yeah, it was a little
of
too much
lost
for
the
me
plot.
growing up. So
But
yeah,
you know, I grew up on this kind of conception of like, or what is it? There's another one with Keanu Reeves where he plays this guy with like, you know, like a disc in his head that he's like a courier to bring secret information. Johnny Mnemonic, you know, all these like, you know, people at the fringes, or even like Star Wars with the rebellion, you know, people
right,
at the fringes trying to gain their freedom against like a massive, unbelievable, powerful, totalitarian, technologically advanced, with levels and levers of control that we can't even imagine, or we can only imagine today.
sure, yeah,
You know, that's the world that for me, it's not just like, oh, this is fun to think about. I'm like, this will be real if we don't stop it from happening. That's the kind of like mindset I had growing up. And so
yeah,
seeing a world run by corporations who are profiting off of reducing our attention span
yeah, yeah. That's true too.
in a landscape, in a media landscape, and a political landscape that is dumbing down messaging more and more and more, and increasing the temperature and the volume and the kind of fear factor and 24-hour news cycle. So
Dude, you sound like a conservative right now, bro.
but this is a lefty, this is an old school lefty
Sure, okay.
viewpoint. Yeah, and not to try to
But you know
distance myself, but
the
just
left
to,
has gone so far left that this is not you know, this isn't a lefty talking point anymore. Like they've gone too far
yeah,
left.
maybe
Where
you're right, or maybe kind of it's kind of an like anti-authoritarian
yes,
framework
yeah,
that maybe has been like has
like
grown
Socrates.
more and more or been
If
more
I was
accepted
born
within
in the 80s,
conservative.
I'd probably be a left-wing guy. I'd probably be a liberal, Dave Mustaine, whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't born in that era. I'm born here right now,
Yeah.
and yes, I want to go back to what it was before, and I'd be considered a conservative compared to
Yeah.
the left here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's where like the political spectrum
Mm-hmm.
lies, you know.
And
Um,
the affiliation, you know, I'm not tied to like this has to be this has to be this camp. This is my whatever, you know.
right.
It's like this is just how I see the world. Is
Mhm.
like and it's not just a left or right thing, but for me left and right means, you know, for me I think about it in terms of what it originally meant in like the pre, you know, revolution France, where the people who are sitting on the left are the people who are like, we don't want this king who's in charge of everything, and the people who are sitting on the right side who are like, you know, we're loyal to the king, we want the status quo, we want the kind of entrenched power, we want this like permanent enduring power that goes on forever that controls regular people's lives. For me, that's what I think of between the left and right, which, you know, when you think about it that way, there's people who are conservative, there are people on the left
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
fit into that. People who are saying, you know, if you're going to critique, you know, the democratic establishment, you know, I'm
Mhm.
right there with you. If you're gonna
Okay. You don't
critique,
know. I
you know,
totally get you there.
NAFTA, I'm right
Yeah.
there with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't see the world in those terms of like, oh, you got to be, you know, with this political side, that political side, but it's
Yeah.
like I see that as a very like dystopian, basically fascist thing, meaning merging of the state and corporations, where we say, hey, you know, if we can buy elections with unlimited money, if we can keep your attention span and buy your votes by
Hmm.
buying your attention, and if we can extract money from you, you know, with ad revenue, like if we can do all of that in one stop shop, and also we can buy ourselves tax credits, you know, at the same time by
Yeah.
buying the
Yeah. Yeah.
government, to to me that's where I wish conservatives um would have like a come to Jesus moment and
Oh
say,
yeah.
you know, like free markets are not synonymous with freedom. You know, Citizens United giving corporations the ability to buy as much airtime for political candidates. You know, every freedom is not, you know, is not
Well,
created
yeah.
equal,
Freedom
right?
doesn't come
Freedom for
free.
you and me, and
It's
freedom for
yeah.
a multi-billion multinational corporation. These are
Yeah.
not,
No.
you know, corporations are not people.
No, yeah, they're entities, bro. They're entities,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
totally understand that. Same thing with the NFL. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
entities, right? They're there to make money. Totally understand that. They do provide a lot of. Let's be honest. I think entertainment's very important to the human mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think us as
Yeah.
humans want to be entertained because that's
Songs,
what kind of
art. These are
songs, art.
ancient. These are tens of thousands of years old, hundreds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I
Pre-human.
think it's very important for entertainment. Now, I think entertainment's the biggest business you can get because everybody strives for entertainment. Everybody has different forms of what they like, etc. So there's very different medias of entertainment there.
Yeah.
So I agree with you there. But however, it's when you're talking about these entities that kind of monetize a lot of the entertainment
Mm-hmm.
industries, I like to me it feels like when it comes to these companies, I think that if you put it in the hands of the government, I don't think that's a good idea. I think when you put it in the hands of just regular people, it's still going to corrupt to the point where regular people still want to make money off of things. I think you know that phrase from The Dark Knight. I think it was The Dark Knight, where you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think that's a real thing, bro. I think it's a real thing. I think there's some people that keep a good heart, but I think most people will be corrupted by money eventually, or at least a portion of them. You know, I don't know about most, but some. It's a good portion. So I don't see a world where we can just sing "Kumbaya" and everybody shares everything. I just don't see it, bro. You know, this is why, like with progressive lefties, their ideas just fall flat historically. With this because of the human nature. So when they want to make the argument that we just need to change human nature, it's just not realistic, you know,
Well,
according to
I
history and
think
biology.
so. I feel like we agree that you can make human nature worse,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely. Yes. No, 100%.
I feel like
But
most people agree there. But the
but
idea
even
that you can
historically,
make human
Socrates,
nature better, and like making human nature better. I don't. Did you
I
watch
think
like Firefly or Serenity?
I did not watch those shows.
Those are
That's
great,
old shit, bro.
great.
That's like
Yeah.
isn't that 90s? That's like 90s TV
No,
show
no, no, no. It's
or
like
early
two
2000s.
thousands. Serenity was maybe like 2009 or something, 2010. It was canceled
Okay.
for a while and then they made the movie. But that plays with these themes of like, this kind of like big empire thinks that they can make humans better. I don't think that we can make or should be in the trying to make humans like better. Like I think that's a
No.
kind of authoritarian
I think you
way to
can
think of it.
mitigate
I
I
think you
think you
can
can
mitigate
mitigate
exactly.
the problems
I
of
think you
human
can
nature. I think
do
you mitigate it.
pro-social things and create pro-social people, and you can do anti-social things and cause people to behave in a more anti-social manner. So you
Mhm.
can feed people, you know, politically polarized bait on both sides and get people, like throwing meat to dogs and getting them to fight each other. You can make that happen,
Yeah.
and you can provide safety and stability for people and get them to trust each other and cooperate more. I think in general human societies are capable of providing both of those things. Do I think that the government should be running all of the things to do everything in the no, no, no. I'm not talking about that. When it comes to, so there's some things that it's like there's a difference between saying the government should be running the tobacco companies that try to get kids addicted to tobacco. No, I don't think the government should be doing that. Should the government make it illegal to sell, okay, tobacco to kids? It
Yeah,
has,
well,
and I
that's
think it should
reasonable.
stay. And
Yeah.
to market to kids, I think I think it should. And I
Yeah,
think when it
yeah.
comes to vapes, when it comes to, I mean, Galaxy Gas took itself a little bit out of the equation, maybe there,
Yeah.
right? But it's like there's a difference between saying I think the government should be doing this thing, and I think that as a society we should say nobody should be doing this thing. I think those are different sentiments, and I don't want necessarily the government running all of the social. I think there genuinely should be a government run public option YouTube, and it could literally have ads, but it could not
Okay.
have an algorithm that is designed to increase engagement and increase engagement against like all known
I
human issues.
Socrates, I think if they didn't have an algorithm to increase engagement, I don't think a lot of people would be on that website in the first place.
that
I
that
think
could
what
that could be
makes
fine, and it could be like it could be boring like public
yeah,
access TV, right?
sure. Yeah,
But
okay,
the
to where you
yeah, it could be like C-SPAN, and it could be boring as shit, and it's just facts, and only nerds watch that shit. That's
yeah, I mean that would
fine,
be fun for us, but
right?
like
But
yeah,
here's
yeah, for sure.
here's the thing: when you're talking about like power corrupts and
Yeah.
absolute power corrupts absolutely, I actually I fall a little bit on the other side of that. Somebody who is a politician and gets power and then they turn to the dark side. I think we're seeing a very selected aspect of that. I think corruptible people
Mhm.
seek power because there are so many. So I'm in cancer research. I'm on the computational side. There's an unbelievable wealth of resources that are created by some dude, maybe not
Mhm.
even at a university, on his computer, creating a utility that's an open source software package
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
used by a billion. We even see this with like, pieces of internet infrastructure crumbling because some dude somewhere stops maintaining some open source free package that's so good and has existed for so long that like every company is using it, and when they update or don't update something falls apart. They're like this is something that I feel like is really like a conservative value.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that human enterprise and labor and striving are things that people do for its own sake. Like, not for this idea that like people only create for the profit motive. This, to me, that's like a
No, I don't. I
heretical
don't think that's the case. No, no,
anti-Christian.
no.
I'm not saying that you said that, but I've heard this sentiment.
Okay.
Without the profit motive, we'd be sitting around doing nothing,
I think the profit
watching
mode gives.
corn,
Yeah, yeah. I think
watching
the
our
profit
corn
mode
grow,
gives
whatever.
more
Right?
motivation to people to help others. I think the profit
Mhm.
mode gives motivation for others to kind of compete. I think competitive.
I
I think
think
competition.
to some people at some times it does, and there's lots of people like I think you like from the little that just the now, oh my god, almost 3 hours that we've talked,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the maybe hour and a half or 2 hours long that
yeah. Two
was.
2.5 hours. Yeah, or
um
more than 2.5 hours. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like you're somebody who, if you weren't making money off of this, or money didn't exist in the world,
I'm not even
whatever,
making money off of this shit, bro.
right?
Like, yeah,
But you would, if we were, in the Neolithic, Paleolithic, we've got rocks. You'd be finding like some cool shit to do with those rocks, and you'd be making fire, and you'd be figuring out ways to make better and like cooler and more useful fire, even if
yeah,
you weren't getting more wives or beads or whatever out of it. Like, you'd be
yeah.
just doing that because you're driven to create and to compete
Yes,
with yourself, but you're competing with others because you want to compete with yourself better, and you can compete with
yeah,
others to
yes.
be better than you were before.
And that's the thing, Socrates. Like, you have to realize, as a guitar player, bro. As a guitar player, I'll even tell
Mm-hmm.
you this: I was one of the best guitar players here in South Texas, bro. There was maybe 5 other guitar players that would fucking smoke my ass as playing. Like, they were playing like fucking Symphony X and shit like that. Like, okay, I'm not up to that level, but however, uh, jamming with those guys and jamming with like top tiered musicians made me a better musician.
Yeah.
I think this is
Because
what
you see what you
competition.
can be, like being part
Yes,
of that, and you're like,
yes,
oh shit. It's like like the difference between people in the Olympics,
hmm,
like in any given year, it's like tiny, but then like Olympics to Olympics, it's like a big leap. And it's like, once
yeah.
somebody breaks some barrier, there wasn't a barrier. It's like the barrier was mental. The barrier was, I didn't think I could run that fast. And then somebody ran
Oh
that
yeah.
fast, and now you're like, oh
Oh,
shit.
I can. I know I could
I
do
didn't
that.
think I could
Now, the bar went up. Yeah,
I didn't think I could.
but now the
I
bar
didn't
went
think I
up, and
could
I'm like,
sweep
I'm
pick
gonna
like that.
practice. Exactly, exactly, bro. And I think that's what competition drives, especially with men. Men
Mm-hmm.
are the competitors.
Mm-hmm.
Men are so competitive, it's ridiculous. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of like that on that same boat, right? Um, and I think it's men. I think it's our competitive nature that has kind of built up a lot of the entertainment factors, society, etc. Is that competitive nature. So that's why,
Mm-hmm.
like, even with companies, they're competing with each other, right? There's some competitive nature there because most of them, the CEOs, etc., are men. Like, let's be 100% honest. At that point, they're so rich, they don't even care about the money. They care about the fucking competition at
Mm-hmm.
that point, you know? So I think there's something to admire about that to a degree, but I get you. With
You could
entities,
admire the drive, but the way our economics and our regulation is structured and degraded, and the power
it
that these
could be better.
corporations wield, is
Yeah.
that it's not like we're gonna build a better thing. It's like we're gonna like put sleeping gas on all our competitors or our customers or whatever,
Oh
and
yeah,
we're gonna
it's
rob
it's
them. Like,
cutthroat. It's
it's
cutthroat, bro.
but
It
it's beyond cutthroat. It's like they're building the barrel that they're putting the fish into, and it doesn't matter what kind of gun they're building, because there's fish in a freaking barrel. And it could
yeah,
be a blunderbuss, it could be a flintlock pistol that they're reloading
yeah,
with the cartridge and
yeah,
right, pouring some black powder into there. Like, it
yeah.
doesn't matter. The fish are in the barrel because they built the barrel and they put the fish into it. And so that's the kind of competition that I don't think that there's anything admirable or useful or societally beneficial in that. I think you can say, I admire this guy who's on a boat with a spear hunting a tuna. That's
Sure.
amazing. But in his aquarium with like a robot that he programmed to like just laser that tuna, it's like, okay, like what are we doing? And also, we're that tuna. We're the
I
tuna
okay.
that he's got in that tank.
Sure, sure, sure. But you do have to realize that when we're competing with other nations, from
Mhm.
China to they
But
don't give a
but
shit
we're
about
but we're not
ethics.
competing with other, like that's something where I can agree with you that we're like, it's not on the level of nations anymore, because our trade agreements make it so that a company can sue a
Sure.
nation that's making laws that make it hard for them to make as much money as they can. Oh, you're putting
Well,
laws in place that make it so that we have to wear hard hats. Hard hats are expensive. We don't want to clear out the gas from our factory. We're gonna sue this nation so that they change their laws.
yeah, I don't hold on. Do you have any example
Yeah,
of a company suing a nation and actually getting it done? Because I don't think it happens that often, if that's the
doesn't
case.
happen that often.
Has it happened here in
Um,
the United States, or did it happen in China or anywhere?
generally, it's going to be like other nations, which again, like
Really?
in the short
But
term, right?
I don't
It's going to
see
be
China like China's like they're a communist regime. Like ain't nobody fucking suing the
no,
communists.
it's going to be more like India,
Oh, okay, okay, I
right?
see,
But
I see.
but but this is where that kind of like you see it creeping in, and you see it
Hmm.
happen there, and then you see it happen here. So this is, and I I hate to use this as an example, but this is like the best example that comes to mind. Is it's like you have you must have heard of Krav Maga.
I heard of what?
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga?
Okay,
That's
okay,
just
maybe not. It's like a it's not quite like a martial art because it doesn't have like a kind of traditional background or
right.
whatever, but it's basically it's like halfway between police and military, like fighting
Oh,
tactics.
okay, okay,
So it's like it's punches,
right.
elbows, groin kicks, and like if you have a rifle, hitting how to hit somebody with a rifle.
Gotcha. That would be like Stryker from Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
uses that style.
yeah, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so that's what the IDF in Israel uses, and the warrior training. This is what they are teaching to police in the United States, and the tactics that are developed for subduing a civilian population that are developed in Israel against the West Bank and Gaza, and are being
Mhm.
trained. U.S. Policemen are being trained in this, and we
Mhm.
see those tactics being
Within
used on
Israel.
our we see
Yeah.
those tactics being used in America
Mhm.
against our own populations. We see area of denial, LRAD, sonic warfare being applied to counter protesters.
Right, right.
So it's like
Socrates,
at
really quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need you to rant on, bro, because
Yeah.
we're already hitting the 3 hour mark. But I want to go on a little bit
Thank
longer.
you for letting me rant, by the way.
No, no, rant on really
Yeah.
quickly and entertain the audience while I go take a
I
leak,
hope they're
please. All
enjoying
right? Yeah.
it.
You got the floor, my friend.
Okay. Um. Geez. Well, now I feel weird ranting to you guys. If you want to come into my chat, say hi so I can see what you're saying. I can't see his chat. Um, but you know, you can feel this feeling of comfort right now. This is happening other places. It's not happening to us, and so we can feel safe. Okay, this is kind of sketchy. Not sure how I feel about this, but it's not happening here. It's not happening here yet. Or if it is happening here right now, it's not happening that much, or it's happening a lot more in other countries. And this feeling, if we're competing with other countries, these corporations are doing it more in other countries than they're doing it here, then at least those countries are suffering more, and so we're getting ahead, right? Multinational corporations don't have allegiance to nations. They don't think about things in terms of nations. They think about how they can make money, how they can get power, how they can coerce governments into getting favorable regulations. Um, if anything that I'm saying sounds like a conspiracy, I don't mean it that way. I mean it. I think
Yeah,
of
you
these
do.
things
Don't
as
lie.
like,
You're a conspiracy theorist, Socrates.
right.
I'm kidding.
I think of these things as like pretty straightforward, like applications of power. If I were a corporation, this is what I would be doing. My understanding is this is basically how they are operating. If there's something that I'm saying that sounds fantastical or inaccurate, I want you to call me on it, because I'm not trying to I don't
No, no,
I think for yeah.
I think you're a good faith liberal, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I think you're a good faith liberal. I think this is part of the reason why I was just like, hey man, let's fucking let's have a convo because you seem like a pretty good faith liberal guy.
Yeah, and there's
Um,
there's some progressive or liberal people or leftist people that I see come at it as an uncomfortableness with profit, an uncomfortableness with
right.
power, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. I think you should be uncomfortable wielding power because you should think about the response. You know, with great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
That's a
Yeah.
lesson
Uncle
that
Ben.
you should learn and you should internalize. And at the same time, you shouldn't give away your power. You should understand how to be responsible with it and how to use it humanely. Because if you give it away, somebody who wants power will pick it up.
No, I get you there. I get you there.
Somebody
Man.
who wants power for its own sake.
Yeah.
And so this
No,
is
I get you.
where you know, the kind of like whatever politics of resentment, where it's like, okay, are there some lefty people I see who don't like wealthy people, not because they're using wealth in, you know, antisocial ways, but just because they're wealthy and they have stuff or whatever. That
Yeah.
happens, and that's something that we just need to like cut out. Like that's silly. That's bullshit. It's fine to make bank, you know. It's
I
fine to
get you.
wield
I get you.
power, right? But you should
Yeah.
think about like, am I just doing this for its own sake? If I'm doing this for the competition, you know, am I still really competing? Think about, you know, like Joe Rogan or somebody who is like the
Mhm.
biggest podcaster on the earth. And it's like, am I, you know, I've outcompeted everybody to the degree, like, am I still even, like competing in a meaningful way? You know, like you were saying,
Yeah.
like talking about like Destiny or different creators, like no matter what you put out, a lot of people are
Mhm.
going to watch it. You get to the certain point, um, you know, this is where there's like a purity to like, you know, hand-to-hand combat, whatever, because it's like
Right.
there's only so big you can get, there's only so trained you can get. At some
Sure.
point somebody
Yeah.
can train and they can take you out. But when you're talking about platforms, you know, am I doing a better analysis of a video because I got more views? You know, if we have
Well,
the same
that
sub count.
that doesn't actually mean that it's a better analysis, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You know, I get you. By the way, really quick, James Dumas says I agree with Jake. He seems like a good faith liberal, even though I disagree with him on some things. There's nothing wrong with that.
I appreciate that.
That's my
Thank
point.
you
That's
so
my
much.
point there, bro. Yeah, that's 100% true. Ghost 1978 says it's all if all parties. I think he meant if all parties came together and figured out how to get to the same goal, voters would be unstoppable,
Yep.
regardless of what party. Too many
Yes.
people worry about their affiliation instead of what's good.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
100% true. Ghost, I do agree. I think there are some things we can agree on and try to work together to become one. But I also think you're going to have issues where you're going to be deeply divided.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is, you know.
Mhm.
And that's the whole point, dude. I'll tell you this. I want to have you back on. I'm gonna shoot you a message. I have a show that I'm going to be doing with Rob Noor. So I'm going to be, well, I already announced it on the last time. Are you familiar with Rob Noor?
I'm just laughing because I've chatted with him before. I've tried to talk to him and he's just like banned me out of his chat.
No way he banned you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe you said some crazy shit. Well, you know what? I'll tell you this, bro. I'm going to be bringing in Rob Noor for what I'm going to call the VO Gauntlet. So the whole concept of that is that we're going to have Rob Noor debate four liberals, 30-minute debates back to back to back to back. Um, I'm going to set up the date. I'm going to invite you to see if you can make it and be one of the debaters on there. And by the way, you're going to get to pick the topic.
Oh,
So
okay, interesting.
any topic at hand, especially if you're familiar with Rob Noor, I'm sure you are. You're going to be able to control the topic, and Rob has to back that up. So he's not going to know the topic at hand. So this is something we're going to be doing for Rob, and then I'll have Rob again at the end of the month for a full debate on things. But yeah, Rob, love Rob, one of my one of the content creators that I support a lot. So yeah, man, I'll reach out to you to see if you can do the date, and maybe we can get you on there for the gauntlet.
Yeah.
I think
No,
that would
thank
be
you,
fun.
man. This is really wonderful. I felt like I could tell, and I'm really glad to see that that I was right. That it's like when we were on that panel, I could kind of see that you were like really like thinking about things and not just like throwing
Oh yeah,
stuff
like for
out
the sake
there
of
that's
arguing.
like
Yeah,
this
for the
guy's
sake
gonna
of
be
arguing.
interesting to talk to, and yeah.
Well, it's funny because I went into that panel because Gibbs messaged me the day before. He's like, "Hey man, it might be short notice. I just got back from Houston from the Destiny stuff, and can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll fucking do it. Fuck it." So he made it sound like it was a conversation. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool." So I didn't really. I was just like, "Okay, I'm just do a little bit prep, whatever the topic at hand is." But I didn't know exactly where it was going to go. I didn't know if it was a debate or anything like that. But obviously, it was three conservatives versus three liberals. One of them bailed out and never came back. But so technically, it was 3-on-2. But at the same time, I did agree. I had some common ground with what Soy Pill was saying. And at the same time, I had to question you guys on where your logic lies on the future of the Democratic Party. So that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
get at in order to kind of debate you on stuff that I disagree on. But it was more respectable because I wasn't going in there because I've gone into debates and I've called people stupid morons and stuff like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, dude, I have done that. But in this scenario, it was just more of like kind of seeing where my opponent's opinions lie.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to break it down and then have an argument afterwards.
Well, that's
So-
why people like you and me should be talking. Not
Yes.
just okay. If
Yeah.
it's fun for you guys watching, that's great.
Yeah.
But we should be talking because you have a totally different perspective
Yep.
than I do on all these different things, and I have a different perspective than you do on these different topics, and maybe a lot of that is going to be some kind of like politically driven whatever. There's something that connects some chain reaction,
Yeah.
and maybe there's not like too much nitty gritty we can really like understand about that because it just comes from different whatever. But there's so much, and there's so much in the real world that it's like the reason I'm on here, it's I'm interested to share my worldview, but mostly like I want to hear that other perspective, and I want to hear that other perspective from somebody who really like wants to
dive deep.
share it, who wants to like
Yeah.
yeah
100% Socrates, man.
dialogue.
Yeah. And I love it, bro. We got to have these conversations, etc. But I do want to have you back on the channel. I think you're a good faith, smart liberal, smarter than the average liberal that I've ran into, because I've debated some Destiny wannabes that are just fucking lunatics, and I love debating them. Actually, it's so fun for me. But because I could be rude and they're bad faith, and I'll just be fucking rude back to them, and it's just
unleash.
fun.
Yeah.
I just unleash the dragon. But with you, it's just like, okay, this guy, let's break it down. And even in a debate format, if my opponent's
I think
reasonable,
we could do like a good
debate,
show
like it
people
wouldn't.
what a good debate looks like.
Yeah, it wouldn't be rude because you're not
standards.
on that. Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. But you have to realize it's the internet, so I can go into that mode with me. But
I can see
I
that
think
as well. I can see that this guy can get edgy if he wants to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, bro. Like, dude, I got in trouble for saying the N-word one time from another content creator that I used to work with. He was a black guy. I said the N-word on my stream, by the way. It wasn't even his stream. But that was a freedom of speech thing. He brought me on to have this debate, calling me, racist and stuff like that. It was a fun exchange, But at the same time, bro, like when I talk about, and I'll tell you this, I know you're Jewish, but if I ever talk about the Jews, stuff like that, don't take it personal. I don't
We'll
hate
see.
Jews or anything like that. I don't hate all Jews or nothing like that. Me
All
and
but
you,
me.
bro. Yeah, all but you. I hate all the other Jews, not you though. All right, I'm kidding. But yeah, I do talk about these subjects that are controversial. Some people that I work with might take it personal and they'll root me out. That's fine. But just know I'm not going to censor myself. I'm not thinking about you when I talk about you. I'm not thinking about black people when I talk about other content creators that are friends. I don't think about that. I just kind of, rant it out. But yeah, just know that, bro, for the future, man. For the future.
Yeah,
if I get into that topic,
I
it's
mean,
nothing
that's
and
honestly something that I can agree on a lot. I think it's really important for thinking and speaking
Mhm.
and conversing to be able to at least sometimes speak in a way that is just like less complete. So you say
Yeah.
something, it expresses like what you're trying to say, but it's maybe not really like kind of cleaned up and fully coherent or sanitized or sound
Right,
nice
right,
or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
and there should be the space and the grace to say, okay, this is what you said. Is this kind of like the main thing that you were trying to convey with that? Like,
Yeah.
where do you want to go with that? And
That
give a
that's the
chance
thing.
to like say something first and then like refine it, and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be refined from the start.
Right. And that's the thing. Like when I'm ranting by myself, bro, there's nobody there to ask me for clarification, right? There's
Yeah.
nobody there to like, well, what do you mean by that?
Hmm.
So that's why when I rant on my own, maybe some people can look at that and be like, hey, this is how
Hmm.
I interpretate it. It's fine. You want to have a conversation with me and you can give me
Yeah.
questions on whatever the fuck I said, and it's fine with me. Just know, like, yeah, I've had some. He was a good content creator, man. He's very, very well off content creator. Does panels. I did several debates on his show. But yeah, just know I'm not trying to offend anybody, but if my words come out offensive, I mean it is what it is. I can't control how anybody feels, right? But yeah, I'd love to have you back on, bro. I'm gonna hit you up for the Nor Gauntlet
Yeah.
for
Let me
sure.
know. Sounds good.
Especially if you're telling me he banned you off the chat, or it was probably his mods or something. So maybe
Yeah,
you can get
maybe.
your revenge here, and of course you can control the topic at hand. So I think that will be a good one, man. But anyways, with that being said, Socrates, I'll definitely catch you later on that. Actually, stay after the show. I'm gonna end the stream and stay afterwards. But guys, thank you so much for tuning into Project VOPod. You could be anywhere on the internet, except you're here with Project VOPod, shooting it out with Socrates. So I really appreciate all of you guys that stuck around. With that being said, I'm going to send you all over to Rob Noors because he's live right now. God bless and have a good night. I see you there, 13. W, Mr. Jake. WU, 13. Have a good one, guys. All right. Yeah, we're off.
Nice.
Okay, there you go. We're off.
There.
Uh,
I'm still streaming. Did
no,
you?
yeah, we can continue on there. I
Oh,
don't. It
okay.
doesn't matter. It
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
matter to me. But no, yeah, man, dude, this was a great conversation, man. I think there's a lot of common ground there, and I definitely want to have you back for either panels or especially Rob. I think the Gauntlet one's going to be fun
Mm.
because you're a little bit more of a. I don't know how you debate. I have to look at your debate stuff here, and see how you do. But I will tell you this: I'm sure you disagree with Rob on a lot of things.
I'm sure I do.
So yeah, I'm sure you do. So I definitely want to get you on there. I'll give you the date. Hopefully you
Mm.
can make it for one of those nights, and that will be fun, man. So it'll be 30-minute debate
Mm.
rounds with Rob. You'll be one of the debaters, and if you stick around at the end of the show, we'll open it up and it'll be a free for all like panel, like a
Yeah.
regular panel. So that's what I'm kind of planning on with Rob Noor. So yeah, we'll see you in the future in that, Socrates.
Yeah. No, that sounds
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I mean, I like these kind of one-on-one conversations. It feels like we can get a lot deeper. I've
Yeah.
kind of stopped doing panels at some point because it's just like everybody has something different that they want to talk about. So it's like
Well,
you
what
start to
makes you
talk
do the
about
panel with
wrestling and
Gibbs
derail.
then? Yeah.
I I chatted with him recently, and I chatted with Grid. I had like
Hmm.
just met him and chatted with him, just like a chill
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah. Grid's one of
And
my boys, bro. I love Grid one.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh, we're doing this thing," and I'm like, "You know what? Sure. I haven't done a panel in a while. Haven't chatted with these people on a panel. In a while or ever."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, let's go for it." I get burnt out on them really fast though. Now it's just like, okay,
I understand what
this
you're
feels
talking about, bro.
pointless. When you
I
can
get
really
you.
like connect one on one, get a good flow going. That's
You
fantastic.
know, I like the panels because it introduces me to new people that I've never
Hmm.
spoken to, even
Yeah.
though it's
Well,
crowded
that's how I
already.
met you. Is
Yeah, yeah, that's what.
from the
Yeah,
panel.
yeah,
Yeah, we wouldn't
that's
be
what I'm
talking
saying.
right now. Yeah.
If it wasn't for Gibbs, that's the point. And I've met a lot of people off of these panels, so
Hmm.
this is why I like doing them because, especially if it's people that I've never spoken to before. Not all of them care for me or anything like that, because there are some panels where I am very much prepped on the topic, so I might be a little bit more aggressive.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like it's good to kind of meet new content creators or new people in general, like
Yeah.
online. So that's kind of like the goal of kind of developing more conversations, more entertainment,
Exactly.
um, etc. Dude, so definitely, bro, like, you should definitely at least get on panel with VOPod at least.
Yeah.
If you're not
Sure.
gonna do panels with somebody else, at least do panels with me. If I
Yeah.
tell you, hey bro, can you make it? Do a panel, you know? Because I definitely I'm always looking for some type of like opposite guys. And there's very few liberals that fuck with me. Like I think there's maybe 4 or 5 that like I can go to like that are actually I can call friends. So I definitely love to have you there. You know, if I reach out, like, hey, can you come on for a discussion or a debate or anything like that? It's always good to rely on these individuals, and of course, I'll always sponsor you. It is what it is, especially if you're an internet friend of mine. Always feel free to ask me for favors as well, bro.
Yeah.
If you need
And
me for
same.
anything.
And if
Yeah.
there's, if there's people I know you want to get in touch with, hit me up. And if there's people you talk to that are like more right wing, that are like, hey, I want to have a conversation with a liberal on this topic. It's like, what the hell are they thinking? Like
Yeah.
that's honestly like the conversation. I would be like, what the hell are they talking about? Like
Mhm.
I had conversation with somebody you can see actually. I had a bunch of conversations with him. It was semi-successful in some ways, but we had one
Uh-huh.
conversation on like the whole like tampon Tim. I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
From
and I
yeah.
talked him through it. I'm like, look, I know you don't agree with like trans stuff. I know you think this is bullshit, but like
Yeah.
here's why this happened. And it's not because he's crazy. It's because they're people that are female, that are students in schools, that
Mhm.
live as boys, and they go to the boys' room and they have periods and they bleed and they need tampons. And that's why there are tampons in the boys' room. I know you think that's bullshit. I know you think that situation sounds crazy and fucked up, but like
Right.
it's not like this one guy was delusional and just started putting tampons in the boys' room for no fucking reason.
See,
But
I
it's
would
like,
argue that that concept alone is delusional, bro.
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
and I
It-
totally,
it-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and yeah, Tampon Tim, that was a great nickname for him, bro. To
Mhm.
be honest, that was a great nickname. And I get it. Trump always puts little nicknames on his
He
political
loves his
opponents, which
nicknames.
they're funny, dude. Like
I mean, they
Pocahontas,
stick.
they stick.
Yeah.
They do stick. And that's like the strategy also when it comes to like there's a strategy there that if you put like some type of nickname on somebody,
Hmm.
it's there. And I've kind of used it myself, to be honest, at times
Mm.
with some of these liberals. Uh, it's a strategy, but I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know
Hmm.
how degrading it could be, but
Yeah,
it's a strategy that I've used before in the past. I'm not
it
gonna
can
lie.
it can be effective for sure.
It's effective, bro. It
Yeah.
really is. You know. So yeah, I mean, the tampon Tim shit that was great. But yeah, man, fucking definitely get you back on, man. I'm definitely gonna get you back on. That being said, dude, I gotta split out already.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was great conversation with you, man. Great conversation. I'm gonna hit you up soon. Okay,
Yeah. All
like
right. Take
within
care.
the
Have a good
next
night,
day or
man.
two. Have a good one, man.
Bye.
Laters.